When I was reborn at the very moment the crown prince asked which of us could ride and shoot, I did not raise my head. This time, I would let my legitimate elder sister take the spotlight. The spring weather is fine today, and my royal sister still lacks a companion skilled in riding and archery. The crown prince's voice drifted down from above the waterside pavilion, while I held a white porcelain teacup in my hands. Is any young lady present proficient in riding and archery? The tea trembled faintly, reflecting my bloodless face. I stared into the water for a moment, before I finally believed that this was not another dream before death. Fresh green willows lined the lake, and the banquet was filled with elegantly dressed young women. Princess Zhaoning, dressed in a crisp pomegranate red riding outfit, looked eagerly over the assembled young ladies. This was the Shaanxi Spring Banquet in the 13th year of Yongning, the day my fate had completely changed in my previous life. Back then, father had been seated diagonally in front of me. The instant the crown prince finished speaking, father had pretended to adjust his sleeve and lightly touched my arm. I understood what he wanted. The Yongning Earless household was declining. It needed a daughter who could distinguish herself before the imperial family. My legitimate elder sister, Shen Minghua, had learned ordinary horseback riding from childhood, but I was the one who truly understood horses and excelled at riding and archery. So I had raised my head. I know a little, I had said. Because of that, the crown prince had looked at me once more, and Princess Zhaoning had selected me on the spot to enter the imperial retreat as her riding and archery companion. At the time, I believed that I had finally used my own ability to win a future for mother and my younger brother. Yet I had been at the retreat for just over 20 days when mother's illness worsened. Father and my stepmother, Madame Fang, wrote that mother had merely caught a chill. They ordered me to serve the princess without distraction, and not disgrace the earless household over trivial household matters. 6 months later, when I was finally permitted to return, Mother's courtyard had already been locked. My 10-year-old brother, Shen Yan, had been adopted into the third branch of the clan. He knelt in the snow, clung to my legs, and sobbed that third uncle no longer allowed him to call concubine Lu his mother. I tried to bring him back, but father rebuked me for ignoring clan rules. Later Yanan caught a severe chill in the third branch, and was left with a permanent injury to his legs. The shops, farmland, and horse farm mother had brought with her were gradually turned into Minghua's dowry. I still refused to give up. I remained beside Princess Zhaoning, choosing horses for her, testing saddles and designing riding and archery lessons. I attended social gatherings on behalf of the Earl's household, knelt to receive rewards, and sent chest after chest home. Whenever Minghua needed expertise in riding and archery, I prepared everything for her in secret. Everyone praised me for being capable. But when old injuries eventually left me unable to draw a bow, the crown prince merely said, "Since you can no longer instruct my sister, return home and recover." Once I returned, father blamed me for damaging Minghua's marriage prospects. Madame Fang insisted that mother's assets had long since been exhausted by the third branch, and they would not even let me see Yanan. I died sick and alone in a secluded side courtyard. Snow fell beyond the window, exactly as it had the day Yanan knelt in it. Mother was gone and Yanan never came back. And the most ridiculous thing about my life was that after everyone stepped on me to gain what they wanted, they still blamed me for not enduring a little longer. Zhiwei. Father called my name softly, exactly as he had in my previous life. His knuckles tapped once against the table, and his gaze skimmed across my face. I knew he was waiting for me to look up. I slowly tightened my fingers. The rim of the porcelain cup dug painfully into my palm. That pain cleared the last haze from my mind. This time I did not raise my head. The banquet fell quiet for a few moments. Princess Zhaoning looked disappointed, and the crown prince was about to ask something else when Shen Minghua suddenly rose beside Madame Fang. "Your Highness, I know how to ride and shoot." Her voice was clear, and excitement flushed her cheeks. Only then did I glance at her. Minghua wore a riding dress embroidered with golden crabapple blossoms. A sapphire blue sash circled her waist, and even the hairpin in her coiffure had been specially shaped like a feathered arrow. In my previous life, what she had resented most was that I had taken the spotlight at this banquet. More than once she had told me that if she, too, had been taught riding and archery since childhood, the princess would certainly have chosen her. Now I had handed the opportunity entirely to her. Her eyes shone almost painfully bright. "I have ridden since childhood," she said. "I dare not claim complete mastery, but I am willing to practice diligently with the princess." Madame Fang stiffened at first, then smiled with gratification. Father frowned, but he did not stop her. Princess Zhaoning's interest returned. She asked Minghua several basic questions on the spot. Minghua had taken the standard riding lessons given to noble girls. She knew the posture for mounting and could name several common types of tack, so she did not expose herself immediately. The crown prince nodded. Very well. Beginning next month, you will enter the imperial retreat and accompany Zhaoning. Congratulations rang out from every direction. When Minghua returned to her seat, her skirt nearly brushed my knees. She lowered her voice and smiled. You are unusually quiet today, little sister. Were you afraid of embarrassing yourself? I lowered my eyes and drank the cold tea in one swallow. Since elder sister is genuinely skilled, I naturally should not compete with you. She took my words as submission, and her smile deepened. After the banquet, father summoned me beside the carriage. His expression was displeased. Why did you say nothing today? I looked at him. Elder sister already stepped forward. She has only learned the ordinary riding arts taught to young ladies. Father lowered his voice. The princess is not seeking someone merely to accompany her on pleasant rides. Later, she will need someone who truly understands choosing horses, testing saddles, and practicing archery. Since elder sister publicly claimed that she knows these things, she must know what she is doing. Father stared at me as if he were seeing this daughter clearly for the first time. You are sisters. After she enters the retreat, teach her privately. It is for the good of the Earl's household. He had said much the same thing in my previous life. I would work until late at night at the retreat, then return to organize Minghua's lesson notes, draw diagrams of tack, and even lend her horses I had personally trained so that she could use them in public. Whenever I hesitated, father told me that the honor belonged to the whole family, yet the honor always landed on Minghua, while the responsibility always belonged to me. I smoothed my cuff and said softly, if elder sister needs a teacher, the Earl's household can hire a riding instructor. I am only her younger sister, not her invisible shadow. Father's face darkened. Shen Jiwei, your mother has been able to live peacefully in this household all these years because you have been sensible. The words struck like a needle, piercing the place I feared most. In my previous life, the mere mention of mother would have made me yield immediately. But I now understood that the more I yielded, the more they would use mother and Yan and to bind me. I raised my eyes and said each word clearly. It is precisely because I am worried about mother that I did not raise my head today. Father's brow twitched, but I gave no further explanation. I turned and climbed into the carriage behind his. As soon as we returned to the estate, I went to the western side courtyard where mother lived without even changing my clothes. The courtyard gate was not yet locked. The old plum tree by the wall was still alive, and several tiny green fruits clung to its branches. I stood outside and suddenly did not dare enter. Then I heard a familiar cough from within. I pushed open the door. Mother, Liu Jingrong, sat by the window mending a spring shirt for my brother. She was younger, her face was pale, warmth still shone in her eyes. Shen Yan leaned over the table, reciting from a book. Both legs hung whole and healthy beneath the stool. I gripped the doorframe. My fingertips shook violently. Mother looked up and hurriedly set down her needlework. Jiwei, what is wrong? I crossed the room in a few steps, knelt at her knees, and held her tightly. Her warmth came through the fabric of her clothes. This was not the cold coffin in the morning hall. It was not another vision that had tormented me during my illness. She was alive. Yanan was still here. Elder sister? Yanan was startled. He cautiously tugged my sleeve. Did someone bully you at the spring banquet? I shut my eyes and forced back the sob rising in my throat. In this life I could not spend all my time weeping. I released mother and held her hand. I simply missed you both. Mother smiled and stroked my hair. Silly child, you only left here this morning. My gaze fell on a bowl of medicine that had already gone cold. The bitter smell was exactly the same as in my previous life. Who prescribed this? Mother paused. The household physician. He said I was simply weak and would recover gradually with proper nourishment. I lifted the bowl and smelled it. After mother died in my previous life, physician Su told me that the prescription was far too mild. It could barely keep her going and did nothing to treat the chronic weakness that had built up over the years. I was about to question her further when Yanan lowered his head and whispered, Elder sister. Third uncle came to see me again today. My hand stopped. What did he want? He said the third branch has no son and asked whether I would go live with them. He said that if I went, I could become their legitimate heir and would no longer be looked down on as a concubine. Born son Yanan stole a glance at mother. The ball of thread in mother's hand rolled to the floor. I slowly tightened my grip on the medicine bowl. In my previous life, I had believed the third branch began plotting only after I entered the imperial retreat. It turned out that the net had been spread much earlier. Back then I had been so intent on distinguishing myself that I had never truly paid attention to the people closest to me. I set the bowl back on the table. Yanan, you did not agree, did you? He quickly shook his head. Third uncle said he would return and ask again. Father also said it was a rare chance for a good future. From now on, no matter who asks you to sign your name, make a written mark, or press your fingerprint, you must not agree. Mother frowned. Jiwei, the third branch is not wealthy, but your third uncle has no son. If Yanan truly becomes his legitimate heir, I held her hand. My voice was quiet but firm. If they truly care for Yan An, why did they not first ask whether you were willing? Mother fell silent. I looked at her living face and only one thought remained in my heart. In this life, I would not enter the imperial retreat. I would not become anyone's companion. I would not fight for glory on behalf of the Earl's household, and I would never again clean up Shen Minghua's disasters. I would stay here. I would keep Mother alive. I would let Yanan grow up standing on his own 2 feet. No one would take them from my hands again. At first light the next morning, I ordered my personal maid, Qingdai, to bring me my jewelry box. I was not favored in the household, so there was little inside. Apart from a few old objects Mother had personally given me, the only things worth money were a pair of pearl earrings and the gold bracelet Grandmother had awarded me the previous year. Qingdai's voice tightened when she saw me place the bracelet in a cloth bag. Miss, the old madam gave you this. If anyone discovers you pawned it, exchange it for silver first. What do you need the silver for? To hire a physician. The household physician belonged to Madame Fang. When I investigated Mother's death in my previous life, he had only repeated that she had fallen ill from long-suppressed sorrow and could not be saved by medicine or food. Later, an elderly physician I met at the Imperial Retreat told me that if Mother had received proper treatment 6 months earlier, she would never have died. In this life, I could not alert Madame Fang. Nor could I let her know that I had begun examining Mother's medicine. Qingdai had followed me since childhood. Although full of questions, she still took the jewelry and left. That afternoon, she quietly brought Physician Su in through the western side gate. Physician Su was over 50. In his youth, he had served in the Imperial Medical Bureau, but his uncompromising nature had eventually forced him out of palace service. Now he ran a small clinic in the southern part of the capital. In my previous life, he had come too late. After taking Mother's pulse this time, his brows drew tightly together. Madam has been weakened for years. Her digestion is poor, and prolonged worry has taken a toll. The original prescription is not exactly wrong, but it is far too mild. If she continues taking it, she may appear free of serious illness while her underlying health worsens day by day. Mother looked uneasy. The household physician said I was merely weak. Physician Su glanced at her. There is ordinary weakness that can be nursed back to health, and weakness that, if neglected too long, causes lasting damage. Do you sweat at night? Have you recently had frequent palpitations, or had your vision go dark when you stand up? After a moment's hesitation, Mother nodded. My chest tightened. She had never told me any of this in my previous life, not because she did not suffer, but because she feared I would worry, and feared even more that I would confront Madame Fang. How long will it take for her to recover? I asked. Change the medicine first. Her diet must also improve. You should see progress within 3 months. If she can avoid further distress, then, after half a year, her life will no longer be in danger. Her life would no longer be in danger. Hearing that her life would no longer be in danger made my eyes sting with tears. In my previous life, everyone told me Mother had been born unfortunate and died by fate. Now I understood that so-called fate amounted to 1 less medicinal ingredient each day, 1 less bowl of meat broth, and 1 timely consultation that never happened. No one had killed her with a single blade. Everyone had simply decided that a concubine's illness was not worth spending much silver on. After Physician Shu wrote a new prescription, I asked Qingdai to see him out. Then I summoned Chun Fu, Mother's maid. Beginning today, record everything Madam eats, every medicine she takes, and every person she sees. Record every expense in this courtyard as well, even if it is only a handful of vegetables. Chun Fu looked frightened. Miss, is there something wrong with Madam's medicine? There is no poison. The prescription simply does not suit her. I do not want anyone to panic. Mother sighed. Jiwei, why make everyone so nervous? I have lived in this household for years. No one truly wishes to harm me. The fact that no one actively wishes to harm you does not mean anyone will save you. Mother stiffened. I tucked the blanket around her knees and softened my voice. Mother, I am not asking you to fight anyone. But you should at least know what medicine you drink each day, what property belongs to you, and where Yan An might be taken. She studied me, her expression growing complicated. You are very different today. I lowered my eyes. At the spring banquet, I watched many people fight over one position. I suddenly understood that gaining something is not always a blessing. Mother did not question me further. She likely believed I had been shaken by what happened at the banquet. That was fine. Rebirth was too absurd. I did not intend to tell anyone, not because I distrusted mothers, but because the less she knew, the more naturally she could behave. That afternoon, I personally inspected Yanan's study. Though only 10, his handwriting was already neat. In the desk drawer lay several sweets, an old copper coin and a new inkstone sent by the third branch. I picked it up. Third uncle gave you this? Yanan nodded. He said that if I go to the third branch, my study will be larger and he will hire the best teacher. Do you want to go? He was silent for a long time before asking softly. Elder sister, if I go, will mother no longer have to endure Madame Fang's control, and will you no longer need to worry about my future? It felt as though something had struck me hard in the chest. After he was adopted away in my previous life, he had comforted me in the same manner. He said third uncle was strict, but he already belonged to the third branch, so I should stop offending father for his sake. He had hidden every grievance because he did not want to become my burden. I crouched before him. Yanan, listen carefully. You are not a burden to mother or me. His lashes trembled. If you want to study, we will find a way for you to study. If you want to stay beside mother, you are allowed to say no. You do not have to hand yourself over simply to make life easier for other people. But father says children should obey their elders. Elders can make mistakes. He stared at me in astonishment. I smiled faintly. Do not repeat that carelessly outside, but remember it. At dusk, mother called me into the inner room. She dragged a dusty wooden chest from beneath the bed. Inside were several old letters, a copper seal, and a yellowed deposit receipt. These were left by my father before he died, she said, running her fingers over the edge of the receipt. When I married into this household, my own family was already in decline. He feared that no one would protect me in the future, so he deposited the deeds for 2 shops, a small horse farm, and 30 mu of farmland, about 5 acres at Chengxi Hall. Who manages these properties now? At first, an old steward left by your maternal grandfather handled them. Later, your father said it would be more convenient for the Earl's household to manage everything together, so he handed them to Madame Fang. Her voice grew quieter. All these years, the household has given me 10 taels of silver each month. They say the shops and horse farm earn little, and most of the income goes to repairs and taxes. 10 taels. Mother's medicine, our clothes and food, and the wages of everyone in this courtyard all came from those 10 taels. Yet when Minghua married in my previous life, 1 set of kingfisher feather hair ornaments alone cost 800 taels. Madame Fang had claimed that the money came from years of profit at a jewelry shop owned by the household. Now it seemed that those so-called profits had probably been diverted from Mother's property. Does Chengxi Hall still exist? I asked. Mother shook her head. I have not contacted them in many years. I do not know. Give me the receipt. She hesitated. You intend to investigate? Not to make trouble. I tucked the receipt into my sleeve. First I need to know what we actually own. She watched me for a long time before releasing her hand. Jiwei, I know you are doing this for Yanan and me, but the Earl's household is still your family. If a girl quarrels too bitterly with her family, her future marriage— Mother, I interrupted her. If a family can tolerate me only while I continuously lose things for its sake, then it is not a family. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she did not try to persuade me again. That night I gave Qingdai my own identification token and sent her to ask about Chengxi Hall. She returned in less than 2 hours. Miss, the place still exists. It is in the innermost lane of the Eastern Market. The current manager is a young gentleman. I nodded. We leave the estate tomorrow. Qingdai hesitated. But we do not have Madame Fang's permission. I placed the embroidered sachet awarded by the Crown Princess household after the spring banquet on the table. Say that Princess Zhongning selected elder sister, and the household must have new riding clothes made for her. I have been ordered to examine fabrics in the Eastern Market. Shen Minghua was now the most honored person in the Earl's household. As long as the excuse involved her, Madame Fang would not investigate closely. Night pressed heavily beyond the window. Holding the old receipt, I felt for the first time that the path ahead was no longer hidden in dense fog. I remembered only that after Mother died in my previous life, Chengxi Hall had once sent someone to deliver the duplicate deeds. At the time, I had been kneeling before the mourning hall and had no strength to investigate. In this life, before anyone else acted, I would first recover what belonged to Mother. Only if mother had money for physicians and Yanin had money for his education would we have the right to say no to any adoption document placed before us. Chengchi Hall stood in the deepest part of the Eastern Market. Unlike the surrounding silk shops and jewelry stores, it had a narrow frontage and an old signboard, but the entrance was immaculately clean. Behind the counter sat a young man in a blue-gray robe. He was organizing rolls of documents, his long fingers moving without haste. At the sound of footsteps, he looked up. His eyes were very dark. They held neither the merchant's ingratiating warmth nor the habitual appraisal of an aristocratic son. "Do you wish to deposit a deed or retrieve one, miss?" I indicated for Qingdai to remain at the door, then placed the old receipt and copper seal on the counter. "I wish to retrieve the duplicate deeds for property deposited by the Lu family 18 years ago. The young man accepted the receipt but did not immediately search for anything. First he looked at me. "No one from the Lu family has come to retrieve them for many years. I am Lu Jingrong's daughter. What proof do you have?" I pushed the copper seal toward him. "This was left by my maternal grandfather. Its imprint matches the one on the receipt." He compared the seal with the paper, then asked me to write mother's date of birth and the name of the person who had made the deposit. I had read those details in mother's old letters. Only after verifying everything did he rise and walk into the document archive. Qingdai edged closer and whispered, "Miss, this manager is far too cautious. Caution is good. If he handed deeds to a stranger on the basis of one old paper, I would not trust this establishment." Soon he returned carrying a wax-sealed wooden box. The beeswax had yellowed with age, and the Lu family seal was stamped into it. 18 years ago, old Master Lu deposited deeds for 2 shops, 1 horse farm, and about 5 acres of farmland. He stipulated that no one except Lu Jingrong herself, her biological children, or a person carrying the Lu family copper seal could retrieve them. His fingers paused on the lid. "Miss Shen may examine and copy the deeds, but you may not remove the originals." I was surprised. "You know my surname?" The Yongning Earl's second daughter recently attended the Shanks banquet with her family. Many people in the Eastern Market saw the Earl's carriage. His tone remained calm, as though stating something entirely ordinary. "You know who I am. Are you not afraid that showing me these deeds may offend the Earl's household?" If Chengchi Hall decided whether to keep its rules according to a client's status, it would have closed long ago. He opened the box. 4 deeds lay neatly inside. One shop was in the Western Market and rented to an herbal merchant. The other, in the southern city, was a saddlery. The horse farm lay at Greenstone Slope outside the capital. Though not large, it had its own water source and pasture, with the 5 acres of farmland beside it. Taken separately, these were not an enormous fortune. Properly managed, however, they could never have produced only 100 or so taels each year. "Can you find the rents collected over the years?" I asked. "Chengchi Hall stores deeds. We do not manage property." He took another register from the archive. However, Old Master Lu required that every renewed lease be copied and sent here. I read through it page by page. 5 years earlier, the tenant of the Western Market shop had changed, and its annual rent rose from 120 taels to 180. The southern saddlery brought in 150 taels each year. The horse farm and farmland had no fixed lease, so they were likely still run by the original steward. The 2 shops alone earned more than 300 taels per year. Mother received only 120. My fingertips went cold. "Who renewed the leases over the past 5 years?" The manager pulled out several records. "Steward Zhou, who serves the Countess of Yongning." As expected, it was Madame Fang. "May I copy these?" "You may." He had an assistant bring paper and ink, then returned to the other side of the counter. As I copied, I asked deliberately, what would happen if news that I came to retrieve the deeds reached the Earl's household? "That depends on what Miss Shen wants. Chengchi Hall normally does not reveal who visits, but if the Earl's household comes with a written authorization from Madame Lu, I cannot lie for you." He did not promise absolute safety, nor did he claim he would help me unconditionally. That honesty was reassuring. "Manager Lu?" He cupped his hands. "Lu Huaijin," I continued copying. After a while, I asked, "Manager Lu, do you understand adoption documents?" "A little. If a 10-year-old son's biological father wishes to have him adopted into another branch of the clan, whose agreement is required?" Lu Huaijin did not answer immediately. "Miss Shen is asking for your younger brother?" I looked up. "Does Chengchi Hall ask why every client seeks advice?" He closed the register in his hand. "But adoption concerns clan rules, and every clan differs. If this is the Yongning Shen clan, ordinary law alone cannot give you an accurate answer." He took a copied volume of clan regulations from a shelf. "The Shen clan is old. For a boy aged 10 or older to be adopted, the biological father, clan head, and 2 clan elders must affix their seals. If the biological mother has enough private property to support the child, the document must also state clearly who owns that property. My heart stirred. What if the biological mother refuses? She does not have the final legal authority, but her objection may influence whether the clan elders seal the document. What about the child? He also cannot decide directly, but his refusal can make future disputes very troublesome. I tightened my grip on the brush. So to stop an adoption, it is not enough merely to say we do not want it. Correct? Lu Huaijin looked at me. You must prove that remaining with his mother is more suitable than being adopted. And you must make those who hold the seals believe that forcing the adoption will damage their interests. He did not comfort me by saying there would certainly be a solution. He simply laid the hardest part before me. The deeds you hold can prove Madame Lu is capable of supporting her son. But deeds alone are insufficient. You need stable income and a suitable residence. Madame Lu and young Master Shen must also state their wishes in person, I said quietly. A deed cannot say no on someone's behalf. Lu Huaijin's gaze paused. Deeds can only record that someone once said something. The true difficulty is that many people are never permitted to say no. I was silent for a long time. In my previous life, Mother had not said no. Yan had not, neither had I. We all believed that enduring one more step would buy peace. Instead, step by step, we delivered ourselves into other people's hands. After I finished copying the deeds, Lu Huaijin resealed the box. Rain suddenly began outside. I had brought no umbrella and Qingdai watched the downpour anxiously. Lu Huaijin took a square of oilcloth from beneath the counter and handed it to me. Wrap the copies. I accepted it. Manager Lu does not lend umbrellas? There is only one in the shop. The assistant by the door must deliver a client's deed later. I could not help smiling. Most people trying to be kind would first offer a few comforting words. He cared only that the papers stayed dry. As if reading my thoughts, he added, a person caught in the rain can drink ginger tea afterward. Restoring soaked papers is very troublesome, so Manager Lu pities paper more than people. Paper is simpler than people. His expression remained solemn, but I laughed aloud for the first time. Before leaving, I placed an ingot of silver on the counter. For today's examination and consultation. Too much. I paused as he took only half and pushed the rest back. Examining old deeds costs 3/10 of a tael. We will calculate the fee for adoption documents when you truly need one drafted. I accepted the silver without further courtesy. This was not a favor, it was a transaction. A clear transaction. That was more dependable than vague kindness. On the ride home, I held the oilcloth tightly. Rain struck the carriage roof in dense quick beats. Qingdai asked, Miss, now that we have the deeds, can we recover the shops and horse farm? Not so easily. The deeds prove they belong to Mother, but Madame Fang has managed them for years. She controls the accounts, staff, and income. If I confront her rashly, she can claim the properties earned little and all revenue went to repairs. I needed to find someone who remained trustworthy. Ask whether Uncle Tang, the old steward of the Greenstone Slope Horse Farm, is still there. Qingdai nodded. As the carriage passed the side gate of the Yongning Earl's estate, I suddenly remembered something else. After Mother died in my previous life, Chengqi Hall had sent not only the deeds but also a letter written by my maternal grandfather. In it, he said he lacked the power to protect his daughter all her life. He could only leave these things behind, hoping that if she ever wished to leave, she would have a path of retreat. Yet Mother had died without ever leaving the Earl's household. In this life, I would not merely recover the deeds. I would turn them into a true escape route. When I returned to the western side courtyard, Mother saw my rain-soaked clothes and hurriedly ordered Chunfu to bring dry garments. I first placed the copied deeds before her. Mother, the 2 shops alone earn more than 300 taels in rent every year. The horse farm and farmland are additional. What you received was less than 30% of the true income. Her face gradually paled. Perhaps the household paid repairs and taxes for me. There would be expenses, but not this many. She was silent for a long time, her fingers pressing the copies. What do you intend to do? It was the first time she had not immediately urged me to forget the matter. First examine the accounts. Then continue your treatment and Yanan's education. After that, we must let everyone understand that we can survive without the Earl's household. Outside, the rain gradually stopped. Water dripped from the eaves, one drop after another striking the flagstones. In my previous life, I always believed I had no choice. Now I understood that choices did not suddenly fall from the sky. They were built little by little from a deed, an account book, an ingot of silver, and one refusal to lower one's head. When Shen Minghua returned from the imperial retreat for the first time, the household prepared 2 full tables for her welcome feast. She had been away only 10 days, yet she was treated like a victorious general. Princess Zhaoning had awarded her a pair of gilded horsebells, and the crown prince had sent a length of cloud-patterned brocade. Madame Fang displayed the gifts in the main hall so that every visiting relative could admire them. I did not join the excitement. Mother's appetite had improved after changing medicines, and I was sitting with her as she ate congee when Minghua's chief maid, Qilu, arrived. "Second miss, eldest miss asks you to come speak with her." I did not look up. "She has just returned and must be busy. I will see her tomorrow." Qilu's smile stiffened. "Eldest miss says it is urgent." I set down the spoon and adjusted the blanket around mother. "If it is truly urgent, she may come herself." Qilu had clearly not expected that reply. She left looking displeased. Less than 15 minutes later, Minghua arrived in person. She still wore the riding clothes from the retreat, and the prince's horse bells hung at her waist, chiming as she walked. "You have grown quite important, little sister. Even when I summon you, you refuse to come." Mother began to rise in greeting, but I pressed her hand down. "State your business, elder sister." Minghua glanced at mother's new medicine. Something flickered in her eyes, but she quickly drew a sheet of paper from her sleeve. "Next time I return to the retreat, the princess wants me to choose a horse suitable for mounted archery. Write down the temperaments, teeth, and gaits of common horses for me, and draw several diagrams of tack." I did not take the paper. At the spring banquet, elder sister said she knew riding and archery. "Of course I do," she frowned, "but identifying horses is tedious." "You learned such things from concubine Lu since childhood. Writing several pages will hardly cost you any effort." She had said the same things in my previous life. Drawing one diagram took no effort. Testing one horse took no effort. Explaining one mistake before the princess took no effort. In the end, I did everything while she only needed to appear in the prettiest riding clothes. I can remind elder sister that chestnut horses are usually steady-tempered, that you should observe a horse's eyes and ears before choosing it, and that every buckle must be examined before mounting. I looked at her. As for complete notes, elder sister should study them herself. Minghua's face darkened. "You are deliberately making things difficult for me. If you only need a gentle horse, ask the instructors at the retreat. If you wish to become a companion the princess truly trusts, then you should learn in person." "Shen Jiwei, do you think you are the only one who knows these things?" "I have never said so." "Then why will you not help me?" I was silent for a moment. "Because it is your responsibility." Minghua sprang up, and the bells at her waist rang violently. "You are jealous that the princess chose me." Mother looked at me uneasily, but I did not become angry. "If elder sister is certain I am jealous, then you should be even less willing to use my notes. Otherwise, if you succeed, everyone will say you are gifted, while if you fail, you will blame me for not teaching you carefully enough." She was left speechless. I took the blank paper from her hand and set it back on the table. "If you truly wish to learn, I can tell you which riding instructor to hire. I can also ask Uncle Tang to choose a gentle horse for you, but I will not write every answer in advance." Minghua stared at me. For the first time, real fury appeared in her eyes. "Father will never agree. Then father may come speak with me." She gave a cold laugh and turned away. At the door, she looked back at mother's medicine. "Concubine Lu is suddenly willing to spend money on good medicine." I met her gaze. "Mother is ill. Naturally she must take medicine. The household gives the western courtyard only limited silver each month. Little sister, do not take money you should not touch merely to prove a point." She left. Mother's face was pale. "Does she know you went to Chengji Hall?" "Not yet. But Madame Fang will discover it sooner or later. We must move faster than she does." That night, I sent Qingdai to the storehouse to retrieve my own saddle and tack. The woman in charge refused to release them. "All tack in the household is shared. Why must second miss separate things so precisely?" I opened the old inventory. This green oxhide saddle was given to me by my maternal grandfather. The silver buckles bear the Lu character. Mother sewed the girth herself, and I paid to repair the quiver last year from my own allowance. In what sense is it shared property? The storehouse woman had no answer and could only return everything. I also ordered Qingdai to preserve the note Minghua had asking me to write her writing instructions. "It is only a sheet asking you for help," Qingdai said. "Why keep it? Today it is merely a request. One day it may be used to claim I took the initiative to teach her." Qingdai froze, then carefully added it to the box of records. 10 days later, Minghua returned from the retreat again. This time she brought no rewards. She entered the main hall in a rage and accused the retreat's riding master of deliberately giving her a badly tempered horse, causing her to embarrass herself before Princess Zhaoning. I had not witnessed the assessment, but from her furious complaints I pieced together what happened. Princess Zhaoning had asked her to choose one horse from 6 for mounted archery. The riding master warned that one black horse with white lower legs had recently changed grooms and was unsettled. Minghua thought it was the most beautiful and selected it anyway. She mounted before even arranging the reins properly. The horse repeatedly tossed its head and backed away. Frightened, she ordered someone to hold it and struggled with the horse in front of everyone for a full 15 minutes. Princess Zhaoning did not punish her. She merely said, "Miss Shen, if you do not understand, you may choose again." That sentence humiliated her more than a rebuke. "It is all your fault." She stormed into my courtyard. "If you had written out the horse's temperaments earlier, how could I have chosen incorrectly?" I was checking Mother's prescription. I looked up only to ask, "Before you chose, did the riding master warn you?" He spoke vaguely. "Did the princess forbid you to change horses?" Her expression darkened further. "If I changed at the last moment, would that not prove I knew nothing? So you did not lack information. You simply refused to admit uncertainty." She bit her lip. "Elder sister," I said, "what embarrassed you was not that I failed to write several pages. You would rather choose wrongly than let anyone know you did not understand." Minghua raised a hand to strike me. Mother cried out. I caught Minghua's wrist. She had not expected resistance, and stood frozen. I released her and stepped back. "This is Mother's courtyard. If elder sister wishes to rage, return to your own. You dare treat me like this? I merely declined to stand still while you hit me." Father's voice suddenly came from outside. "What is this commotion?" Tears instantly filled Minghua's eyes. She turned and rushed to him. "Father, I only wanted my sister to teach me a few things. She refused and even said I know nothing about riding and archery." Father looked at me. "Jiwei, when Minghua returns to the retreat next time, you will go with her." A chill passed through my heart. "In what capacity?" "You are a young lady of the household. Entering openly would draw too much attention. Change into a maid's clothes and secretly choose a horse for her." He spoke as though it were the most ordinary thing in the world that I should hide my name, put on a servant's clothes, and fulfill the duty Minghua had personally claimed. "I will not go." The room went still. Father narrowed his eyes. "What did you say?" I said, "I will not go." He walked slowly toward me. "If your sister loses face before the princess, the entire Earl's household loses face. As a daughter of the Shen family, do you care nothing for the greater good?" I did not argue. I drew the copied records of Mother's property from my sleeve and placed them on the table. "If Father wants me to work for the Earl's household, I can consider it." His expression eased slightly. I continued, "First settle Mother's accounts for all these years." His face changed at once. Minghua also stopped crying. I looked at the thin pages on the table and spoke calmly. "If you want my help, first make everyone understand who owns what and who should bear each responsibility." Father did not agree on the spot. He picked up the copies and read several lines, his expression growing grimmer with each one. "Where did these come from?" "Chengchi Hall." Madame Fang arrived as soon as she heard. She had come so quickly that her jeweled hairpins were not even secured properly. "What does it mean that you privately investigated household property?" she demanded. "I investigated property registered in Mother's name." Once Lu entered the Earl's household, her property naturally came under the household's management. Management is not ownership. Madame Fang's eyes hardened. "Where did an unmarried girl learn to speak like this? Has someone outside been provoking you to turn against your own family?" I did not mention Lu Huaijin. The deeds were deposited 18 years ago. If that is provocation, then the person provoking me is my deceased maternal grandfather. When old Madame Shen was summoned to the main hall, her expression was extremely displeased. First she examined the copied deeds, then the account books Madame Fang produced. "How much income have Louis properties actually generated?" she asked. Madame Fang answered quickly. "Business at the Western market shop has been poor this year. It brings in barely more than 100 taels. The Southern shop has undergone several repairs and hardly makes a profit. Horses are expensive to maintain, so the horse farm does well merely to support itself." I took out Chengchi Hall's retained lease records. The Western market shop increased to 180 taels per year 5 years ago. The Southern shop rents for 150. Together, they yield at least 330 taels annually, before counting the horse farm and farmland. Madame Fang's lips tightened. "Rent must be taxed, and servants must be paid. That is why I never claimed all the income was taken." I placed the accounting summary I had prepared in front of grandmother. "I only wished to know where the money went after reasonable expenses were deducted." Father said heavily, "We are one family. Why calculate every coin so clearly? because mother became ill and could not even afford an outside physician. The household physician's medicine only barely sustained her. Physician Su said that if treatment continued to be delayed, her health would be permanently damaged within 6 months. Mother sat at the end of the room, pale. She had always feared such confrontations, yet today she did not urge me to stop. Grandmother turned to Madame Fang. Lu receives only 10 taels a month? All concubines in the household receive that allowance. But she has property of her own, most of its income has been used by the household. The Earl's revenue has been limited for years. Minghua must maintain relations with the clan, and ancestral fields require repairs. I could not help laughing. So mother's shops must support the Earl's household, provide elder sisters clothes and jewelry, and repair the Shen ancestral fields, but cannot purchase medicine for mother herself. Father slammed the table. Shen Jiwei, I did not retreat. Father asked me to enter the imperial retreat for elder sister, and said the honor belonged to our entire family. I only wish to ask one thing. If the property of a family need not be distinguished, can the rewards elder sister received be sold to pay for mother's treatment? Minghua immediately changed color. Those were awarded to me by the princess, so what lands in elder sister's hands belongs to her, but what is registered in mother's name belongs to the Earl's household. Grandmother closed her eyes. Enough. The room fell silent. She looked at me. What do you want? First, all property in mother's name must be accounted for separately from now on, and the accounts must be sent to her every quarter. Second, at least half the net profit of the shops and horse farm must be given to mother to use at her own discretion. Third, Yanan's education and daily expenses will be paid from mother's assets, and the household may no longer claim she lacks the means to support him as a reason to promote his adoption. Madame Fang immediately said, the adoption is for Yanan's future. It has nothing to do with whether his mother has money. Then it is even more appropriate to wait until he is older and hear his own wishes. Father's face turned livid. You are using a few sheets of paper to threaten your own family. This is not a threat. It is an exchange. I turned to him. If father wants me to enter the imperial retreat and choose horses for elder sister, first agree to these 3 conditions. Your sister's future is also your future. The word left my mouth, and I felt a freedom I had never known. Her future is hers. I may help or I may not. Mother's and Yanan's lives are what truly concern me. Father remained silent for a long time. Grandmother struck the floor with her cane. Investigate the accounts. Madame Fang turned to her in shock. The deeds are clear. If outsiders learn that the Yongning Earl's household seized a concubine's private property, even Minghua's present reputation will not survive. Grandmother's voice was cold. Hand over the accounts for the past 5 years. From now on, Lu's property will be kept separately. Madame Fang's fingers whitened, but she could only agree. Grandmother then looked at me. Yanan's adoption will be temporarily suspended. As for your entering the retreat, I have not agreed. Her eyes darkened. I said only that I would reconsider after the accounts were clear. Father laughed in fury. Good. Very good. Now you have learned to bargain with your elders. I have finally learned that spoken promises cannot be trusted. He stared at me, then swept out. Madame Fang and Minghua soon followed. Only grandmother, mother, and I remained. Grandmother studied me. Do you believe recovering several shops will enable you to protect your mother and brother? No, I answered immediately. But without them, we do not even have the right to say no. Her expression was complicated. You are cleverer than before and far more troublesome. I caused no trouble before, only because I swallowed every grievance myself. She said nothing more. That night, mother held my hand, worry filling her eyes. You deeply offended your father today. Do you regret it? After a long silence, she shook her head. I am only afraid you will have no one to rely on in the future. Before relying on another person, one should first know whether there is a road beneath one's own feet. I placed Physician Shu's new medicine in her palm. Mother, your shops can support us. She looked down at the packet and suddenly began to cry. All these years I believed that if I endured a little more, life would become easier for you children. Instead, you must fight for me. This is not fighting on your behalf. I wiped away her tears. It is recovering what was always yours. 3 days later, Madame Fang surrendered the first batch of account books. The accounts were a mess. Many expenses were labeled only common household use, with no explanation of where the money went. I did not understand complicated accounting, so I copied them and sent the copies to Chengshi Hall. Lu Huaijin read them and said only, "These prove the accounts are a mess. They do not prove how much was embezzled. What can we do? Separate future income first. Investigate the old accounts slowly. Do not expect to recover everything at once." He took out a blank deed. The most important thing is preventing new income from continuing to disappear. I nodded. It is the same as treating mother. One cannot cure her in a day. First stop the decline, then gradually restore what was lost. Lu Huaijin examined the support plan I had drafted. One line read, Shenjue's courtyard shall bear all future educational expenses for Shen Yan'an. He crossed it out. Why? Madame Lu has assets. Young Master Shen will also grow older. You may help him, but you cannot write his entire life as your responsibility. I am his sister, so you may support him. You need not carry him. I stared for a long time at the line of ink he had drawn through the words. In my previous life, I had always believed that after mother died, I was obligated to bear everything for Yan'an. If he lived badly, it was my fault. If he was injured, it was my fault. If I failed to bring him back, that too was my fault. Yet I had been only a girl in my teens. I could not even save myself. Does Manager Lu always interfere in a client's household affairs while drafting a deed? Only in clauses likely to cause disputes. He spoke with complete solemnity, but I knew the warning was not solely for the document. When I left Chengqi Hall, Uncle Tang was waiting at the rear entrance. He had served my maternal grandfather and later managed the Greenstone Slope horse farm. After several years apart, he was more stooped than I remembered. At the sight of me, he tried to kneel. I hurriedly supported him. Uncle Tang, there is no need. His eyes reddened. Miss, you have finally come to ask about the horse farm. I was afraid everything the Lu family left would truly be swallowed by the Shen household. I took him to a nearby tea stall. He drew a small account book from his clothes. The proper ledgers were all taken by the supervisors Madame Fang sent. I kept this privately. The horse farm has not been operating at a loss. Renting horses to several carriage companies in the capital brings in more than 200 taels each year. But whenever the money arrives, Steward Zhou collects it. How many horses remain? 21. Only 3 are truly good. The other fine horses were sent to the estate or sold. What about Zhao? It is still there. I released a breath. Zhao was descended from a dapple gray horse left by my maternal grandfather. I had cared for it personally since childhood. Before entering the imperial retreat in my previous life, I lent it to Minghua. Later, during a riding gathering, it was frightened and broke its left hind leg. It could only be sold to a horse dealer. I never learned how the accident happened. This time, I would never hand it over. Uncle Tang suddenly looked anxious. Miss, I came today for another reason. Madame Fang's new steward is selecting horses at the farm, he says. Eldest Miss wants Joy and plans to take it to the imperial retreat next month. I rose abruptly. Madame Fang clearly had no intention of honoring the agreement. Turning over a few old ledgers was only a delay. As long as Minghua remained favored by the princess, the Earl's household would continue treating everything belonging to mother as its own resource. I took the small ledger. I will go to the horse farm first thing tomorrow. Uncle Tang lowered his voice. Steward Zhou says every horse at the farm belongs to the Earl's household and must serve eldest Miss first. I looked beyond the tea stall at the darkening sky. Then let him first learn that Joy is not the Earl's horse. Joy is mine. Greenstone Slope was only about a 2-hour carriage ride from the capital. When I arrived, Steward Zhou was ordering men to fit Zhao with a bridle. Zhai's coat was black, with a small patch of white on its forehead. As strangers approached, it pawed anxiously at the ground. Stop! I hurried forward. Steward Zhou turned without much respect in his expression. Why has second Miss come? Madam ordered us to bring this horse to the estate for eldest Miss to try. Who gave permission? The Earl's household manages the horse farm. Naturally, Madam may transfer a horse. Uncle Tang trembled with anger behind me. Old Master Lu left this horse to second Miss. Steward Zhou scoffed. The Lu family has been ruined for years. Why distinguish Lu property from Shen property? Second Miss eats and lives in the Earl's household, yet insists on calculating even one horse. I walked to Zhao's and first let it smell my hand. It recognized me and gradually calmed, rubbing its muzzle against my sleeve. I remembered it lying in the mud in my previous life as men dragged it away, neighing without cease. I forced down the emotion surging through my chest and accepted a stack of papers from Qingdai. These are the purchase records for Zhao's dam and the accounts for its care after birth. Every expense was paid from Mother's horse farm income. Not one was entered in the Earl's common accounts. Steward Zhou's expression shifted. Only several old papers. Chengqi Hall has sealed duplicates. If you think they are false, you may challenge them there. He clearly knew Chengqi Hall's rules and did not dare argue further. At that moment, another carriage stopped outside the farm. Minghua climbed down first, followed by Nanny Fang from Madame Fang's household. Little sister, you came all the way here yourself merely because you refused to lend me one horse? She approached Jai, determination filling her eyes. I only want to borrow it for several days of practice. It is not as though I will not return it. Zhaoyi does not suit you. You have never watched me ride. How can you say that? It has an old injury in its left hind leg. It grows impatient when made to stand too long and dislikes strangers mounting from the right. You habitually use short reins, and when it tosses its head, you instinctively pull harder. That will only make it more anxious. Minghua's face tightened. After saying all that, you simply do not want to lend it to me. Yes, I do not. She clearly had not expected such a direct admission. Are you not afraid the princess will blame you? The princess needs a riding and archery companion, not my horse. Nanny Fang stepped forward. Second miss, madam said that eldest miss now represents the Yongning Earl's household. Everything in the household should be given to her first. I looked at her. In that case, have madam first write down the rental fee, deposit, and liability for any injury to Zawe. Must sisters charge rent for borrowing one horse? Precisely because we are sisters, it should be written clearly. If something happens, elder sister cannot say the horse was defective and have the household demand compensation from me. Minghua paled, evidently remembering her previous mistake in choosing a horse. I ordered Uncle Tang to bring a new loan register. From today onward, every horse lent outside the farm must record the borrower, purpose, return date, and liability for damage. If elder sister swell sign, Uncle Tang may choose a gentle horse for you. I want only Joey, then I will not lend it to you. She glared at me for a long time, then abruptly reached for the reins. Jai's ears flattened at once, and its forelegs lifted. I stepped between Minghua and Jai, and gently patted the horse's neck, soothing it in a low voice. It did not truly kick, but Minghua stumbled several steps backward in fright. You see, I steadied the reins. You do not understand it at all. Her expression shifted between anger and embarrassment. You deliberately made it lose its temper. A horse does not understand quarrels between sisters. It knows only who makes it uneasy. Several grooms lowered their heads to hide laughter. Tsinghua's eyes reddened with rage and she turned back to the carriage. Before leaving, Nanny Fang said coldly, Madam and the Earl will hear of second misconduct today. Excellent. I handed the loan register to Qingdai. Ask Madam to have her people sign before taking any horse in the future. Nanny Fang refused it. The carriage drove away in a cloud of dust. Uncle Tang exhaled heavily. Miss, today you have offended Madam beyond repair. This did not begin today. From the moment I refused to raise my head at the spring banquet, Madame Fang was never going to let me live quietly as before. I checked Jiaozi's left hind leg. The old injury was not severe, but its horseshoe had worn unevenly and needed correction. Uncle Tang showed me the accounts and storehouse. Saddles were piled in a corner. Their surfaces appeared sound, yet several straps were obviously thin. I was crouched examining one when someone announced, Manager Lu of Chengshi Hall has arrived. Lu Huaijin wore a dark narrow-sleeved outfit suitable for travel and brought 2 assistants and a wooden case. Why are you here? I asked. There were several tack purchases in the accounts Miss Shen sent. The quantities did not match, so I came to examine the physical goods. He did not ask how my dispute with Minghua had ended. He went directly to the storehouse. I handed him an old saddle. The leather here appears wrong. Lu Huaijin scraped the edge with a knife, exposing a lighter inner layer. The outer layer is oxhide, but the lining has been replaced with sheepskin, which costs nearly half as much and cannot bear the same weight. With prolonged use, the buckle could snap. He looked at me. Can you confirm? Zoe became irritated the moment this saddle approached it. It has been hurt by similar inferior tack before. The pressure points abrade a horse's back. I had Uncle Tang bring another horse that used the tack regularly. Sure enough, a raw mark had not yet healed on its back. Lu Huaijin opened the purchase record. The account states 12 sets of first-rate oxhide tack. Only 3 are genuine. The remaining money had been skimmed off. Can you identify the buyer? The purchaser was Steward Zhou's nephew. This was not enough on its own to establish anyone's guilt, but it was enough to replace the supplier. It also proved that the horse farm's alleged losses did not come from poor management alone. Lu Huaijin and I worked the entire afternoon, sorting every piece of tack. Before sunset, I personally tested a repaired saddle. Zoe had not carried me in a long time. The moment we left the enclosure, it grew excited and accelerated across the pasture. Wind rushed past my ears. I had nearly forgotten how long it had been since I had ridden so freely. After my old injuries worsened in my previous life, I needed help even to mount. Now my legs were strong, and the reins rested steadily against my palm. A wooden board fell in the distance with a tremendous crash. Startled, Zoe abruptly veered. I pressed my left leg against its side, loosened the reins, and let it see the road ahead. People at the horse farm cried out. Lu Huaijin did not rush forward to seize the horse. He quickly ordered his assistants to move a wooden frame from the path, clearing a wide road. I rode Jiawei halfway around the field before finally slowing it. When I returned to the enclosure, Lu Huaijin handed me a cup of warm water. Miss Shen did not need rescuing just now. I accepted it. Then why did you stand in front of us? To let you know there was nothing blocking the road. I froze. Sunset rested on his shoulder, gilding the edge of his sleeve. Many people in my previous life had promised to protect me. The crown prince said no one would dare bully me after I entered the imperial retreat. Father said that if I won glory for the earl's household, mother and Yan would have support. Yet their protection always became a demand. Only Lu Huaijin, when I could truly control the situation myself, did not seize my reins. He merely cleared the path ahead. I lowered my head and drank. Thank you. No need. The wooden frame should never have been placed there. He still spoke in a businesslike manner, but my hand around the cup felt hotter than it had while I was riding. Before I left, Uncle Tang gave me another small ledger. Miss, I followed the tack purchases and found that every quarter, the horse farm transferred silver to a jewelry shop. The entries say repayment of an old debt. Which jewelry shop? Minghua Pavilion. I knew it well. Madame Feng had given Minghua Pavilion to Shen Minghua at her coming-of-age ceremony. She often claimed publicly that the shop prospered because Minghua managed it well, and therefore paid for her clothing each year. It turned out that this supposed talent for business was nothing more than using Mother's horse farm to support her. I closed the ledger. Do not reveal this yet. Deposit all future income separately and continue investigating. Lu Huaijin glanced at me. You do not intend to demand the silver immediately? If we confront them now, they will say the accounts contain errors or blame Steward Zhou. I am waiting for them to reach out once more. For what? Only if grandmother and father see Madame Feng continue using mother's assets after being ordered to separate the accounts, will they be unable to dismiss this as old confusion. I climbed into the carriage. As we left, Jiawa followed the fence for several steps. In this life I had saved it and preserved one small place that genuinely belonged to us. But I knew Madame Feng would not stop. Sure enough, when I returned to the western courtyard that night, I heard her speaking with father outside the door. Jiawei has deeds in her hands now and she grows bolder each day. If Yan'an remains under Lu's name, those properties will eventually fall into that concubine-born son's hands. Father said heavily, was the adoption not suspended? Suspended is not cancelled. We should settle it while he is young, before unexpected changes arise. I remained outside and did not enter. In my previous life, I believed that if I made myself useful enough, they would treat mother and Yan'an better. Now I understood that in their eyes, the more useful something was, the more urgently it must be controlled. I tightened my hold on the ledger. They had not abandoned the adoption. They were merely waiting for me to relax. I did not immediately expose their conversation. Early the next morning, I went first to see grandmother. She was eating breakfast with the help of her maids. At the sight of me, she frowned. What is it now? I have brought grandmother a plan for the horse farm as future income. Grandmother set down her silver spoon. Your mother's accounts are not yet fully examined, and already you are arranging the future? Precisely because the old accounts are unclear, we must define the future first. I placed the proposed terms before her. First, all property in Lu Jingrong's name will be accounted for separately. Second, half the net profit each quarter will be placed under Lu Jingrong's independent control. The other half will repair the horse farm and pay for Shenyan and S education. Third, when the Earl's household needs horses, it will rent them at market price rather than take them for free. Fourth, Shenyan and S adoption may not be pursued for 3 years. Fifth, if adoption is discussed after 3 years, Liu Jingrong, Shenyanan, and 3 clan elders must all be present. Grandmother finished reading, and her expression darkened. What sort of place do you think the Earl's household is? Must members of one family pay for the use of one horse? If they do not, the farm will continue losing money. Then the household will again claim mother cannot support Yan'an. You are guarding against your own family. Grandmother also guards against everyone in the estate. She narrowed her eyes. I pointed toward the ring of keys at her side. Grandmother personally keeps the keys to the estate storehouse, account office, and deed room. Even Madame Feng does not hold them all. If you truly believe a family need not distinguish things too clearly, why carry those keys every day? Every maid in the room lowered her head. Grandmother stared at me for a moment. To my surprise, she did not become angry. You have learned to use my own reasoning against me, because grandmother understands better than anyone that rules are not only for guarding against outsiders. They also keep those closest to us from exhausting every last measure of goodwill. Her fingers tapped the table. You want me to suppress the adoption. You must give the Earl's household some benefit. The horse farm can give the estate first choice of available horses at 80% of market price. Yan and S daily expenses will no longer be drawn from the household accounts. What about Minghua's position as companion? That is unrelated. Her gaze cooled. How is it unrelated? If the princess values Minghua, everyone in this household benefits. Mother's private property is hers. It should not be exchanged for elder sister's future. If you refuse to help Minghua, are you not afraid that when she rises in status, she will retaliate against you? If she can rise only by stepping on me, then sooner or later she will retaliate regardless. Grandmother was silent for a long time, then sighed. You were never this hard before. I once believed that if I softened, others would soften toward me. I now know I was wrong. She picked up the proposal. I can have the clan elders witness that there will be no adoption for 3 years. I can also order Lu's property accounted for separately, but when the Earl's household needs horses, reduce the price by another 10%. Agreed, provided any damage is compensated separately. Grandmother glanced at me. You refuse to yield even that? The price is already reduced. I cannot risk losing the horses as well. She gave a cold snort but did not oppose me further. When I left Pine Crane Hall, my palms were wet with sweat. Grandmother was not my protector. She would not pity me merely because I had suffered in another life, nor would she defend justice simply because Madame Fang bullied a concubine, but she believed in interests. As long as I could prove that allowing Mother and Yan and to remain together benefited the Earl's household more, she would temporarily stand on my side. That was far more reliable than hollow affection. That afternoon, I took the terms to Chengqi Hall and asked Lu Huaijin to draft the formal document. After reading them, he crossed out one line: Shen Juwei's courtyard shall bear all of Shenyan and its future expenses. I had known he would object, but I still asked, if Mother's property does not earn enough, someone must make up the difference. You may write that you will voluntarily cover a shortfall. It cannot become a permanent obligation. Is there a difference? There is. He set down the brush. With the first wording, you may choose again each time. With the second, everyone can use it to demand things from you. I stared at the line he had crossed out. But I am his sister. A sister is neither creditor nor debtor. If I do not care for him, who will? Madame Lu will. When he grows older, he will care for himself. You can support him while he is young. You cannot walk his entire life for him. I fell silent. Lu Huaijin looked at me. Miss Shen, you protect your mother and brother because you care for them. But if you ultimately turn yourself into another person sacrificed for the family, how are you different from before? I instinctively wanted to argue, but no words came. In my previous life, Mother had placed all her hopes in me. If I now took responsibility for everything concerning Yanen, perhaps he would also come to believe that his sister was obligated to bear it all. A true family should not consist of one person continually sacrificing while the others continually receive. Then write it as voluntary support in case of a shortfall, I said. Lu Huaijin rewrote the clause. We can add another condition. After Shen Yanen turns 16, he must participate in managing the costs of his education and daily life. I laughed. Manager Lu calculates matters very precisely even for a 10-year-old. The sooner he understands that he bears responsibility for his own life, the less easily others can control him through favors. I suddenly felt that he might not be speaking only of Yan. Were you also controlled in this way as a child? Huaijin's brush paused. Chengqi Hall was left to me by my mother. My clan has always believed that as a son of the Lu family I should merge the shop into the clan estate. You did not agree? The dispute has dragged on for years and is still unresolved. It was the first time he mentioned his own family. I did not press him. How much he wished to say was his choice. When the document was complete, I returned with it to the Earl's household. Grandmothers summoned the clan head and 2 elders. Though displeased, father affixed his seal under grandmother's stare. Madame Fang sat to one side wearing a composed smile. It is only a 3-year suspension, she said. It is not as though Yanen can never be adopted. Why make such a formal matter of it? I placed the sealed document into my box. Precisely because it lasts only 3 years, the agreement must be formalized. Yanen stood beside Mother, clearly not yet understanding what the paper meant. I touched his head. At least for 3 years, he could not be quietly sent away. My relief lasted only 2 days. Another letter arrived from the imperial retreat. Princess Jiaoning would hold a formal writing and archery assessment the following month, and Shen Minghua specifically demanded that I attend. Minghua wrote the letter herself. At the end, she added, if little sister does not come, the princess will certainly believe the sisters of the Earl's household are at odds, and father will never tolerate your continued willfulness. That evening, Father summoned me to his study. The retreat has sent word. Prepare yourself. In 5 days, you will enter with Minghua. I will not go. Shen Jiwei, I have already ordered your mother's accounts separated and suspended Yan and S adoption. What more do you want? In his mind, returning what had always belonged to mother was already a favor granted to me. Father agreed only to stop occupying mother's private property. He did not buy the right to make me work for elder sister. His face turned livid. Someone confiscate second misidentification token. Without my permission, she may not leave the estate. 2 old servants stepped forward. Qingdai tried to stop them, but I restrained her. I surrendered the token without crying or struggling. Father likely believed that if he confined me for several days, I would apologize as I always had before. He did not know that from the day I found the deeds, I had stopped relying solely on myself to preserve every possible way out. Back in the western courtyard, I had Qingdai check the document box. The most important copies had already been deposited at Chengqi Hall. The horse farm's accounts remained with Uncle Tang. Mother's prescriptions were kept by Chunfu. The adoption agreement bore grandmother's and the clan elders' seals. They could confine me. They could not confine the records already preserved elsewhere. The next day, grandmother received a sealed deposit record from Chengqi Hall. Lu Huaijin wrote nothing unnecessary. Following this sequence I had arranged beforehand, he listed exactly when each document had been deposited and who had signed it. Grandmother came to the western courtyard that afternoon. You prepared all this long ago. If you were forced into the retreat, you intended to have your mother reclaim her property. Yes. Were you not afraid your father would truly expel her? I was afraid. That was the truth. I had seen mother's coffin in my previous life. Even now, if someone used her to threaten me, my entire body turned cold. But if fear makes me once again bear Minghua's responsibilities, they will use mother to threaten me forever. Grandmother stared at me. You would let the Earl's household lose a horse farm over a young lady's stubbornness? The horse farm does not belong to the Earl's household. I had said this many times, but only when I truly prepared to take it away did they begin to believe me. Grandmother eventually ordered my token returned. Her condition was that father write a declaration stating that Shen Jiwei had never participated in Shen Minghua's training and bore no responsibility for anything Minghua did at the imperial retreat. When father wrote it, he pressed the brush so hard that it nearly tore the paper. I preserved the statement carefully. For the first time, confinement no longer frightened me. As long as I was not completely alone and had prepared an exit in advance, even a locked courtyard could not trap me. After regaining permission to leave, I went to Chengqi Hall. Lu Huaijin was checking documents. When I entered, he looked up only once. You recovered your token. I did. Good. I stood at the counter without sitting. Did you ever consider what would happen if grandmother refused to yield and I was truly sent to the retreat? Yes. What would you have done? Followed your arrangement. Deliver the deeds to Madame Lu. Notify Uncle Tang to seal the horse farm's account office. And preserve every ledger. You would not have come to the Earl's household to take me away? Lu Huaijin regarded me for a moment. If you had asked me to, I would have found a way. But what you instructed me to do was protect your property, not break into the Earl's estate. I lowered my head and laughed. Manager Lu truly acts only according to the agreed terms. Number. His tone softened slightly. I simply believe you should not have to tell me how to rescue you. Then what should I tell you? Tell me where you have decided to go. He pushed the deposit record toward me. I will guard the door behind you. Warmth spread slowly through my chest, like warm water gently washing over me. This was not a grand promise. It was a kind of trust I had never known in my previous life. I was about to speak when Qingdai hurried in. Miss, young master has returned from the clan school. He says he has urgent business. When I rushed back, Yanan sat in mother's room, his face pale. He pulled a crumpled paper from his clothes. Elder sister. Third uncle asked me to press my fingerprint today. I unfolded it. It was a draft adoption agreement dated for 2 days later. The ink on our 3-year suspension had barely dried, and Madame Fang had already worked around grandmother. I did not immediately confront father. I first asked Yanan, where did third uncle ask you to sign? In the study behind the clan school. He said I should only look at it and that nothing had been settled yet. Who else was present? Steward Lin from father's side, a nanny from third uncle's household, and the clan school teacher. What did the teacher say? He said it was a family matter and I should obey my elders. Mother sat nearby, all color gone from her face. Did they not promise they would not mention adoption for 3 years? That is why this is called only a draft. I flattened the paper. They want Yan and S fingerprint first. Then they can tell grandmother, the child volunteered. Madame Fang understood how to avoid a rule. What the clan elders feared most was not whether a child suffered, but whether future inheritance disputes would arise. If Yan pressed his fingerprint first, it could be interpreted as consent. I sent Qingdai to summon Lu Huaijin and had Chunfu bring mother income records. Mother gripped my hand. Jiwei, this time let me speak for myself. I looked at her. Her voice still trembled, but she did not avert her eyes. He is my son. I always believed my low status meant I could not dispute with the old madam. But they intend to send him away without even asking me. Tears gathered slowly in her eyes. I do not agree. Hearing her say it made my nose sting. In my previous life, she had died without ever being given the chance to say those words. Good. I held her hand tightly. This time, we will say it together. Grandmother was furious when she learned what happened. Not because she pitied Yan, but because Madame Fang had bypassed her and damaged her authority within the household. She immediately summoned the clan head, the third branch couple, and 2 clan elders to Pine Crane Hall. Mother, Yan, and I were all present. Third uncle, Shen Tingmao, spoke first. Yan is intelligent and sensible. I have no son. Adopting him would benefit both sides. Once he becomes my legitimate heir, his status will be far more respectable than remaining a concubine. Born son in the second branch. Third aunt smiled. I would certainly treat him as my own son. I handed the draft agreement to the clan head. If he will be treated as their own son, why does the document state that if the third branch later has a biological son, Yan may inherit only 30% of the property? Third aunt's smile froze. That is merely to prevent future disputes. Then why does it say that after adoption, Yan may not inherit his biological mother's private property? Third uncle replied, once adopted he naturally separates from his biological mother's branch. If he must separate from mother, why does the agreement require her to pay 50 taels every year toward his support? Pine Crane Hall fell silent. Third uncle's face darkened. Food, clothing, and education cost money. What is wrong with Lu contributing as his biological mother? Then is he the legitimate heir of the third branch, or a child whose biological mother pays to board him there? The clan elders exchanged glances. Father finally spoke. Jiwei, stop splitting hairs. The third branch is willing to grant Yan the status of legitimate heir. That is already an elevation. I turned to him. Father believes Yan should abandon mother, surrender his own property, and lose his future inheritance protections in exchange for the words legitimate heir. What could a concubine, born son expect to inherit in the first place? Mother's face grew even paler. Before I could speak, Yan suddenly rose. He had always feared father. Whenever father entered the western courtyard, Yan scarcely dared breathe. But this time, he clutched the draft, and though his voice trembled, every word was clear. I do not want it. Father frowned. When elders speak, it is not your place to interrupt. Tears filled Yan's eyes, but he did not sit. I do not want to leave mother in exchange for the title of legitimate heir. Third aunt immediately said, you are young. You do not understand how important that status is. I understand. Yan turned to the final page. It says that if third uncle later has a biological son, I must yield most things to him. If he is the true son, why must I go there first? Third uncle looked embarrassed. Impudent brat. We are kindly offering you a future, yet you dare suspect your elders. Yan flinched under the shout. I placed a hand on his shoulder. He merely read what the document says. The clan head cleared his throat. Since the child resists so strongly and Lu has enough assets to support him, forcing the adoption could indeed create future trouble. Father said, but the third branch having no heir is also a matter for the clan. Another suitable boy of the Shen clan can be chosen, I said. It need not be Yan. And grandmother looked coldly at Madame Fang. I already agreed that adoption would not be discussed for 3 years. Who authorized this draft? Madame Fang had maintained a dignified posture throughout. I heard the third branch was anxious and thought we might first ask the child. I did not expect the servants to handle it improperly and frighten him. With one sentence, she pushed all responsibility onto the servants. I did not argue about whether she lied. I simply placed the previous agreement before the clan head. Please add another clause. Unless mother, Yan, and 3 clan elders are all present, Yan may not sign or place his fingerprint on any document concerning adoption. Grandmother agreed on the spot. Father looked furious, but he could not object. After the discussion, the third branch couple swept out in anger. Madame Fang walked to mother and said sweetly, you have obtained your wish today, younger sister Lu. I only hope you will not regret it if Yan lacks a future. Mother remained pale, yet for the first time she looked Madame Fang directly in the eyes. Whatever future he has, he will build it himself. Leaving me would not necessarily give him a better one. Madame Fang's eyes cooled, and she turned away. Back in the western courtyard, Yan suddenly threw his arms around me. Elder sister, I was very afraid just now. Speaking despite fear is true courage. Did I cause trouble for you and mother? I crouched until we were eye to eye. Today you did not wait for me to save you. You saved yourself. He nodded vigorously. This struggle over adoption was not my victory alone. Mother said she did not agree. Yanan said he did not want it. At last, they were no longer handing their entire fate to me. That evening, Lu Huaijin delivered the amended agreement. He had not participated in the Shen family's argument. He merely examined the draft afterward and identified the risks. When I saw him to the courtyard gate, my hands still trembled. In Pinecrane Hall, I had appeared calm enough, but once everything ended, the image of Yan, kneeling in the snow in my previous life, returned again and again. Lu Huaijin stopped and took a small paperweight from his sleeve. For you, I accepted it. It was an ordinary piece of blue stone, carved with a bamboo stalk. Why give me a paperweight? When Chengchi Hall drafts documents, wind can scatter the pages. There is no wind here. He looked at my faintly trembling hand. A paperweight is not meant to prevent paper from ever moving. It keeps the words written upon it from being scattered by one gust. I closed my fingers around the stone. Its cool surface gradually warmed in my palm. Huaijin. It was the first time I called him by name. He looked up. Without your explanation of the clauses today, the clan elders might not have agreed. What ultimately persuaded them was Madame Lu's property, young Master Shen's refusal, and the seal you obtained from your grandmother beforehand. You refused to accept credit. I accepted a fee. I could not help laughing. His lips curved faintly as well. 2 days later, another letter came from the imperial retreat. It was not from the princess. It was from Shen Minghua. She mentioned nothing of Yanan's adoption and knew nothing of what I had just preserved. She wrote only, little sister, Jai is already with me. If you do not want something to happen to it, come to the imperial retreat tomorrow. I stood abruptly. Zhao had remained at Greenstone Slope, and Uncle Tang would never surrender it voluntarily. Having failed over the adoption, Madame Fang had turned to my horse. They still believed that if they seized what I cared for, they could force me to support Minghua. I folded the letter. This time I will go to the retreat, I told Qingdai, but not to choose a horse for Shen Minghua. I am going to bring Zhao home. Uncle Tang waited outside the city gate. The instant he saw me, he knelt to apologize. Last night, Madame Fang came with the Earl's written order to take a horse. I asked them to sign the loan register. They refused and brought estate guards to seize Zhao. Were you hurt? Only pushed. His face was full of guilt. Zhao neighed the entire time they led it away. It was not your fault. I helped him into the carriage. Did you bring the loan register and Zhao's records? All of them. Lu Huaijin arrived shortly afterward. Yesterday I had sent Qingdai with a message asking him to retrieve the sealed copies, proving Zhao's ownership. He handed the documents to me. The imperial retreat is not the Earl's estate. Once inside, state only what you can prove. I understand. If they insist Zhao is common property of the Yongning Earl's household, demand the corresponding purchase and maintenance entries from the common accounts. If Minghua claims you previously taught her to write it, you have your father's written declaration. He nodded once, then added, one more thing. What? Bring the horse back and leave. Do not let her provoke you into proving to everyone that you are better than she is. I looked at him. You are afraid I will be unable to resist. You have waited too long for this moment. He always saw the things I disliked admitting. I had indeed imagined personally mounting Zhao before Princess Jiaoning and the Crown Prince, letting everyone see who truly understood riding an archery. It would feel satisfying. It would also push me back into the position I occupied in my previous life. If I displayed my ability publicly, the Crown Prince might again ask me to enter the retreat, and father would treat it as a new opportunity. What I truly needed was not to seize Minghua as spotlight. It was to refuse further participation. I will remember. The imperial retreat lay outside the capital among hills and water. Its riding ground was several times larger than the Earl's. When I entered the arena, Zhao was already saddled. It tossed its head repeatedly, and several grooms did not dare approach. Minghua stood nearby. When she saw me, obvious relief crossed her face. You finally came. I ignored her and went first to Zhao. The moment it caught my scent, it leaned toward me. I touched its left hind leg and checked the saddle. As expected, the girth had been tightened excessively, and a red mark had already formed on its back. I began removing the saddle. A senior female official reprimanded me. Second Miss Shen, the assessment will begin shortly. Why are you removing the tack without permission? This horse does not suit eldest Miss Shen, nor is it ready to take part in the assessment, Minghua said coldly. She is only jealous that I am using her horse. I handed the female official the risk statement and ownership records. Joy is part of my mother's private property and has been cared for by me for years. Eldest Miss has never ridden it and does not understand its old injury. I learned only yesterday that it had been brought here, so I submitted this statement in advance. The female official accepted the documents. Princess Jiaoning was seated on a raised platform hearing the dispute. She came down personally. She looked less excited than at the spring banquet and far more impatient. Shen Minghua, you said this was a common horse of the Earl's household. You also said you knew it well. Minghua's expression shifted. Your Highness, I have not ridden it for long periods, but my sister often mentioned it to me. I looked at her. If elder sister is familiar with it, I will ask 3 questions. She bit her lip. Ask Isaiah's old injury in the hoof or the tendon of its left hind leg. She did not answer. Does it fear a gong more or the sudden crash of a wooden board? Her face paled further. Last question. Which buckle must always be checked most carefully before mounting it? These are trivial matters that any groom would know. But you just said you know it. Princess Jiaoning understood. Shen Minghua, how many times have you actually ridden this horse? Tears filled Minghua's eyes. Your Highness, I only wish to choose a fine horse and complete the assessment. Shen Jue deliberately refused to teach me and obstructed me at every turn. I replied calmly. When elder sister first asked me for notes, I advised her to begin with a gentle horse. After she chose incorrectly, I reminded her that one may learn what one does not know. Yesterday, I submitted a risk statement and never prevented her from using any other horse at the retreat. Princess Jiaoning asked, then why did you insist on riding this one? Minghua fell silent. Everyone knew the answer. Because Jai was beautiful. Because it was my best horse. And because she wanted to prove that even without me, she could ride better than I did. The crown prince had also arrived at the arena at some point. After reading the official's documents, he looked at me. If you understand horses so well, why did you say nothing at the spring banquet? The arena became silent. In my previous life, this was the question I had longed for most. I would have displayed my skill at once, hoping that he would notice and value me. Now I felt only tired. My ability to ride and shoot is my own, I said, meeting his gaze. Whether I wish to become someone's companion is also my own choice. The crown prince paused. Minghua suddenly seized Jiao's reins. I can still take the assessment. Princess Jiaoning frowned. You do not even know its temperament. My sister deliberately asked obscure questions. If I am permitted to ride 1 round, I can prove I am capable. I reached out to stop her. Zhao is already unsettled. You cannot ride it. You are afraid I will ride better than you. I am afraid you will injure the horse and other people. That sentence provoked her completely. Minghua pushed my hand away and, with a groom's help, forced herself into the saddle. Zhao tossed its head at once. Minghua shortened the reins according to her habit. Feeling trapped, it bolted. Riders in the arena cried out and scattered. My heart nearly stopped. Image of Zhao's broken leg in my previous life surged before me. Loosen the reins, I shouted. Press with your right leg. Minghua was too panicked to listen. She clung tightly to the horse's neck. Zhao left the prescribed route and crashed through a side rail. Fortunately, soft sand lay beyond it. After galloping more than 10 paces, it slowed. The grooms caught it in time. Minghua had not fallen. Only her skirt was torn by splinters, and her face was bloodless. The first thing she said after dismounting was, "It is all Shenjue's fault." She knew this horse had problems but refused to teach me beforehand. The last of Princess Jianing's patience disappeared. She repeatedly stopped you from mounting. If she had told me everything earlier, how could I have made a mistake? Shen Minghua. The princess' voice turned cold. A companion comes to learn with me. I am not here to distinguish every lie you tell. Minghua dropped to her knees. Your Highness, your assessment is suspended. Return and write a complete account of what happened today. I held Zhao's reins and checked its legs. It had only been frightened and had no new injury. At last, the tension in my shoulders eased. The crown prince asked again, You do not wish to become my sister as companion. Would you be willing to come occasionally and teach riding and archery? I did not hesitate. Someone nearby inhaled sharply. The crown prince did not become angry. He only watched me for a moment. You are remarkably direct. I have already paid once for not being direct enough. He did not understand, and I did not intend to explain. I led Zhao from the arena. Lu Huaijin waited outside the retreat. When he saw me, he looked first at Zhao's legs. You recovered it? I did. Both horse and rider are unharmed? Yes. He took one side of the reins without trying to control the horse. We walked together down the mountain path. Sunset slipped between the treetops, and Zhao followed quietly behind. Let us go back, Lu Huaijin said. I turned toward him. Back where? Greenstone Slope or Chengshi Hall, wherever you wish. I suddenly realized that I had begun separating the word home from the Earl's estate. That high-walled residence was still nominally my family home. Yet the places that truly reassured me were slowly becoming Mother's courtyard, Zhouye's horse farm, and the long table in Chengshi Hall always covered with deeds. When I returned to the estate, night had fallen. Father was waiting in the main hall. Minghua had also returned, her eyes swollen from crying. Your sister position as companion has been suspended. Father said coldly, Are you satisfied? I handed Joy to Uncle Tang. It was the result of her own choices. If you had helped her earlier, this would not have happened. Father personally wrote that I did not participate in her training. His expression stiffened. That declaration was merely to put your mind at ease. It was not permission for you to stand aside and do nothing. I suddenly laughed. In their eyes, even words written in black and white counted only when it suited them. What explanation does Father require from me? Your sister's future is ruined. Someone must repair the damage. I looked at him. In my previous life, whether I or Minghua stood in the spotlight, I was always the one required to bear the consequences. At last I understood completely. As long as I remained in this estate and as long as they believed everything about me belonged to the Earl's household, this coercion would never end. Very well, I said softly. Father believed I had finally yielded, and his expression eased. Tomorrow you will accompany me to see your grandmother and write an apology to the princess. I raised my head. I mean that if Father insists on an explanation, then let us settle everything at once. He did not immediately understand. The next day, Madame Fang began arranging a marriage for me. The prospective husband was a distant relation of the third branch, surnamed Zheng. He was 32, his first wife had died, and he had 2 children. The Zheng family was ordinary but closely connected to the Shen clan. Father told me, the Zheng family is willing to make you the principal wife and does not mind your stubborn temperament. Once you marry there, Yan'an can be adopted by the third branch, and you will still be able to look after one another. I sat quietly in the study. Why has the Zheng family suddenly become willing to marry me? Father frowned. You are no longer young. A woman must marry sooner or later. Do they want Mother's horse farm or the 2 shops? His face darkened. Marriage cannot be calculated in this manner. Then put my dowry in writing. Not a single part of Mother's property is to be touched. Father did not answer. That was the answer. When the adoption could not immediately proceed, they intended to marry me into a family connected to the third branch, then regain control of Mother's property through the marriage. I will not marry him. A marriage is decided by one's parents. Grandmother has already agreed that Mother's property is independent. If Father forcibly places it in my dowry, I will ask the clan elders to return. He stared at me, and for the first time clear disgust appeared in his eyes. Now every sentence from you concerns deeds, clan elders, and private property. Do you resemble a daughter at all? Does the daughter Father desires never say no, never keep accounts, and only bear burdens for the family? He raised his hand. I did not move. The slap never fell. He slowly lowered his arm and said coldly, Get out. I turned toward the door. Behind me, he added, Without the Earl's household, do you think anyone outside will respect a concubine-born daughter? Lu Huaijin has drawn close to you, only because you have property. My steps paused. At least what he wants is written on paper. Father smashed a teacup in fury. I went to Mother's courtyard and told her about the proposed marriage. Her face paled, but unlike before, she did not urge me to obey. If you do not wish to marry, then do not. I looked at her. She held my hand. I was always afraid you would have no marriage and people would mock you. But if a so-called good marriage only means moving somewhere else to continue obeying arrangements, then it is better not to marry. My nose stung. Mother, are you willing to leave the Earl's household? She was silent for a long time. If we leave, may Yan'an still bear the Shen surname? Yes. He will remain in the Shen clan registry, but live in an outside residence under your care. Where would we live? There is an old house beside the Greenstone Slope horse farm. Once repaired, it will be sufficient. The shop rents can support us. And you? I will live with you until I decide my own marriage. Mother looked out the window. The high courtyard wall cut the sky into a narrow strip. I entered this estate at 15 and have lived here for more than 20 years, she said softly. I always believed that leaving meant having nothing. Now that I think of it, what did I ever truly have here? She turned back to me. If we can leave, I am willing. Those words settled my decision. I brought Mother's wishes to Pine Crane Hall. Grandmother did not immediately agree. She said granting a concubine her freedom was not a small matter. The Lu family had declined, and outsiders might speculate that the Earl's household had treated her harshly. Then we need a respectable reason, I said. What reason? Mother's health is poor, and she wishes to recuperate outside the city. Her property can support her and Yana without expense to the Earl's household. Yana will remain registered in the clan and return for ancestral rites on schedule. You intend to go as well? I am her daughter. Accompanying her during illness is entirely reasonable. Your father will not agree. That is why the documents should be prepared first. Grandmother did not answer, but she did not dismiss me. I knew she was weighing the costs. As long as our departure did not substantially damage the Earl's interests, and might even reduce its expenses, she might accept it. After leaving Pine Crane Hall, I went to a tea house in the busy market. Lu Huaijin was already waiting in a private room. I told him of Father's proposed marriage and Mother's willingness to leave. He listened without speaking for a long time. A release document can be drafted, and returning the property is not difficult. The most troublesome issue is Shen Yanen. He cannot legally leave with his mother. He can reside with her, but remains under his biological father's authority. The document must define daily support, education, ancestral rights, and future marriage arrangements, so the Earl's household cannot take him back whenever it wishes. Can it be done? With Grandmother S and the clan elders' support. I nodded. He took out paper and began listing clauses. Halfway through, he stopped. There is something I should tell you as well. I looked up. The elders of the Lu family are demanding that I close Chengqi Hall. His tone was calm, but his fingers remained still at the paper's edge. Why? They claim I use the Lu name to earn silver by storing documents for outsiders. Yet the profit is not paid into the clan estate. The clan has arranged a marriage for me. The other family will provide money to expand the shop on the condition that Chengqi Hall becomes property of the Lu household. I did not answer immediately. He had preserved choices for so many other people, yet had delayed writing down his own. Do you want to agree? Then why have you delayed? Lu Huaijin looked out the window. Half of Chengqi Hall's clients come through old connections of the Lu clan. If I separate completely, the shop may not survive 6 months. I also have a younger cousin. Before my mother died, I promised to support his education. If I leave the clan, his tuition may be cut off as well. So you believe you cannot care only for yourself? Yes, the answer was painfully familiar. You once told me that Yanan is not my lifelong responsibility. He is not. Then is every member of the Lu clan your lifelong responsibility? Lu Huaijin fell silent. I pulled the document he had just drafted toward me. Manager Lu has written so many separation agreements for other people. Yet when it is your turn, you no longer know how. The situations are different. Of course they are different. I looked at him. You understand clauses better than I do. You know exactly how to divide property and obligation. What you lack is not a method. You lack permission to stop carrying everyone. Something shifted in his eyes. What if Chengqi Hall fails? Then it will be your own failure, not a comfortable life arranged by the clan. What if I am no longer a young master of the Lu family? His question was quiet but more serious than anything he had asked me before. What if all I have left is one shop that may not survive? Would you still be willing to remain close to me? My heartbeat suddenly quickened. This was not a proposal and not a promise. He was simply placing the part of himself he feared most before me. I remembered our first meeting, when he verified the copper seal before showing me anything. I remembered the horse farm, where he did not rush to seize my reins. I remembered my confinement, when he followed my plan and kept my escape route open. The person I know has always been Lu Huaijin of Chengqi Hall. Something flickered in his eyes. The private room was very quiet. After a moment, he said softly, Shenjiwei. It was also the first time he called me by name. I first noticed you before you came to Chengqi Hall, when, after the Shangxi Spring Banquet, I was at the Imperial Retreat delivering tack for the Lu family and happened to pass the waterside pavilion. When the Crown Prince asked who knew riding and archery, you did not raise your head. You already knew I could ride? You had calluses in the web between your thumb and forefinger from drawing a bow. And you did not sit like someone who had never ridden. I rubbed my palm unconsciously. You observe people closely. I was merely curious why someone who was clearly capable would rather be reprimanded by her father than speak. And now? Now I understand part of it. His gaze rested on my face. You were not afraid. You had seen the cost of that position. My throat tightened. In my previous life, everyone had looked only at what I could do. He was the first person to see why I did not wish to do it. Lu Huaijin placed a blank deed between us. Let us each write one. Write what? You are preparing to leave the Earl's household. I am preparing to leave the Lu clan estate. He lifted his brush. Neither of us will exchange marriage for help. Neither will turn our own difficulty into the other's obligation. I watched him write the first line. The door in my heart that had always been tightly closed seemed to be gently pushed open a crack. I liked him. Not because he could save me, but because after I had already decided to save myself, he still chose to stand beside me and face the consequences of that choice with me. When I returned to the estate that night, Princess Zhoning's senior female official was already waiting in the main hall. She brought a statement written in Shen Minghua's own hand. It said clearly that I had chosen Zhao Yi for her, inspected the tack, arranged the riding route, and should bear responsibility for every mistake because of inadequate instruction. Father pushed the statement before me. Come with me to the imperial retreat tomorrow. As long as you admit that you secretly assisted Minghua, this matter can be contained. I looked at the lines and understood that the final confrontation had arrived. In my previous life, I had done too many things for Minghua. That was why, in this life, she naturally believed I should step forward whenever something went wrong. This time I would not only refuse to confess, I would make everyone see that whoever claimed the honor must also bear its cost. The inquiry at the imperial retreat was held in Listening Wind Hall. Princess Zhoning sat in the principal seat, with the crown prince present as well. Father, Shen Minghua, the senior female official, Uncle Tang, and Lu Huaijin all attended. Lu Huaijin was present only as the document witness from Chengqi Hall. Before entering, he did not tell me what to say. He asked only, "Do you have everything?" I touched the wooden box in my hands. Everything. Then go in. Minghua's eyes were swollen. She had clearly cried for a long time. Princess Zhaoning first ordered her to repeat her account. Minghua said she had always believed Zhao Yi was common property of the Earl's household, and assumed that I had arranged her training as I had in the past. I am indeed not highly skilled, but my sister used to teach me often. I believe this occasion was no different. Princess Zhoning looked at me. Shen Jue, what do you say? I opened the wooden box. The first document is the note Minghua sent the first time she asked me to write her reflections on riding and archery. It bears the signature of her personal maid, Qilu. The second is my reply. I gave only several safety reminders and explicitly advised her to hire a professional instructor. The third contains Zhao Yi's ownership deed and loan register. Shen Minghua's signature does not appear anywhere. The fourth is the statement father wrote while I was confined. It declares that Shen Jue never participated in Shen Minghua's training and bears no responsibility for anything she does at the imperial retreat. The fifth is the risk warning delivered to the senior female official the day before the assessment. She has confirmed the time it was received. Uncle Tang also testified that Shen Minghua had never ridden Zhao Yi for any extended period at Greenstone Slope, and that guards from the Earl's estate had forcibly taken the horse. Princess Zhaoning read every page. Her expression grew colder with each one. Minghua said urgently, "But she taught me to ride when we were young. She knew how I handle the reins and knew Jazzy's temperament. Yet she did not come earlier to stop me." I looked at her. Elder sister's letter said that if I did not want something to happen to Zhao Yi, I should come to the retreat. You were not asking for instruction. You used my horse to force me to bear responsibility for you. We are sisters, so I should clean up every disaster for you forever? You did everything for me before, she shouted. Listening Wind Hall fell completely silent. Minghua realized she had revealed too much. Her face turned white. My heart, however, was unusually calm. Yes, before, I did. I looked at her. When you wanted writing notes, I wrote them. When you wanted a good horse, I lent you Zhao Yi. When you said the wrong thing before noble ladies, I explained it for you. You gained the reputation, and I believed that the Earl's household would therefore treat Mother and Yan and well. But later I learned that none of your glory was ever shared with me, while every mistake was entirely mine to bear. Minghua shook her head through tears. I only wanted the princess to respect me. Then learn for yourself. I do not have your talent. Lack of talent can be overcome by practice. Ignorance can be admitted. You lost your position as companion not because your riding was worse than mine, but because you preferred lying to accepting responsibility for what you did. Princess Zhaoning closed the documents. Shen Minghua, beginning today you are no longer my companion. Minghua collapsed to the floor. Madame Fang was absent. Father had no choice but to step forward and plead. Your Highness, Minghua is young and was confused for a moment. Since Jiwei understands riding and archery, perhaps she could temporarily replace her. I am unwilling, I said before he finished. Father swung toward me. The Crown Prince spoke slowly. Second Miss Shen, My sister truly needs someone who understands horses and archery. If you agree, I will overlook the discourtesy of the Earl's household today. I am unwilling, I repeated. Why? Because I have my own affairs to pursue. The Crown Prince studied me as if he still could not fully understand. To him, being needed by the imperial family should have been an honor. In my previous life, I had believed the same. Your Highness asked at the spring banquet who knew riding and archery. I did not raise my head then. My answer today's remains the same. I know how, but I am unwilling. After a moment, the Crown Prince finally nodded. I understand. Perhaps he did not truly understand, but at least he did not continue forcing me. The imperial retreat settled only the question of the companion. The true storm began afterward. Back at the Earl's estate, father summoned mother, Yanan, and me to the main hall. Grandmother was present. Madame Fang sat to one side with red-rimmed eyes, and Minghua knelt beside her. Father looked at me, his voice cold as ice. Your sister's marriage and reputation are ruined. You also refused the Crown Prince in public and caused the Earl's household to lose face. I only refused a position I did not want. You are a daughter of the Shen family. You have no right to care only about your own wishes. What does father intend to do? Apologize to Minghua. Surrender the income from the horse farm and shops. Cease all contact with Chengqi Hall. The Zheng marriage must also be settled immediately. Mother gripped my hand. I smiled. At last father had stated what he truly wanted. What? He demanded. This has never been about elder sister's reputation or the Earl's dignity. I placed 3 prepared documents on the table. What father wants is mother's property, authority over Yanan's future, and my lifelong obedience. His face turned livid. Do you think several papers can defy your parents? The first is mother's release document. The second returns every asset to her. The third is a clan agreement allowing Yan to reside in the house at Greenstone Slope under mother's care until he turns 16. Mother's body trembled. Father shot his feet. You intend to leave the Earl Sass household? Yes, you dare? Father just said I have no right to care about my own wishes. If I remain, conflict will continue without end. He shook with fury. Good. Since all of you are so determined, then get out. Madame Liu is only a concubine. How long can she survive outside the Earl's household? Without the Shen family's upbringing, what future can Yanan have? Those were precisely the words I had been waiting for. Then father should affix his seal. He froze. He had intended only to threaten me. He believed that as soon as he mentioned expelling mother, I would kneel and apologize as before. Madame Fang hurriedly said, My lord, you cannot seal it. If Lu takes away the property, she stopped halfway. Grandmother had already understood. Is it the people you cannot bear to lose? She asked coldly. Or the property? Madame Fang's expression darkened. Father turned to grandmother. Mother, their demand to leave today is unfilial. Grandmother examined the 3 documents one by one. Madame Lu is leaving to recuperate. Publicly, we will say her health is poor. Yanan remains in the Shen registry and will attend ancestral rites. Jiwei is unmarried and accompanies her biological mother. This does not amount to severing ties between father and daughter. Yet the imperial retreat has already embarrassed us once today. Grandmother's voice sharpened. If word spreads that the Earl's household also occupied a concubine's private property and tried to force one daughter to bear another's responsibility, does this household intend to retain any reputation at all? Father stared at me. You calculated all of this long ago. From the day you used mother and Yanan to threaten me, I began preparing. Lu Huaijin planned it for you. I chose to leave. He only wrote my choice clearly. Father sneered. Do you imagine marrying him gives you a way out? A son from a collateral branch who leaves the Lu family may not even keep his own shop. I do not need to marry him to have a way out. Lu Huaijin had not entered the main hall. He waited in the outer courtyard, prepared only to verify when the documents had been drafted and deposited. Father still could not believe I could support myself. Without the Earl's household, on what will you live? Mother owns 2 shops, a horse farm, and farmland. How long can that small income last? Uncle Tang has already reorganized the horse farm. The rents from the shops are sufficient for mother's medicine and Yanan's education. I understand horses and can operate the farm. A woman operating a horse farm is absurd. It appears absurd only because all the profit once flowed into the Earl's household and made that arrangement seem natural. Grandmother closed her eyes. Affixed the seal. Father remained motionless for a long time. Finally, he seized the seal and pressed it heavily onto Mother's release document. Mother stared at the crimson imprint as tears slid silently down her face. She had lived in the Earl's household for more than 20 years. One seal ended half a lifetime of confinement. Grandmother and 2 clan elders also sealed Yanan's residence agreement. Father looked at me one last time. Once you walk out that gate today, do not return to beg me. I gathered the documents. Very well. Madame Fang helped Minghua stand on the steps. Minghua watched us prepare our modest trunks, and suddenly asked through tears, "Did you know from the beginning that the position as companion would destroy me?" I stopped. I knew only that it was a position you fought to obtain. If you had warned me earlier, I advised you to learn riding properly. I warned you not to ride Jiaowei. I told you not to claim mastery of what you did not understand. I looked at her red eyes. You never truly wanted to listen. You deliberately watched me humiliate myself. I did not continue arguing. I simply stopped bearing the consequences for you. The gates of the Earl's estate slowly opened. Mother stood beside me. Yanan held her hand. Qingdai and Chunfu followed behind. We carried few trunks, mostly mother-sold clothes, medicine, and several boxes of books. What truly mattered were the documents. When I crossed the threshold, I did not look back. 2 carriages waited outside. Lu Huaijin stood beside Jiaowei. Father's words had clearly reached him, but he did not ask whether I regretted leaving. He merely took Mother's medicine chest and placed it in the carriage. The old house at Greenstone Slope has been prepared. I nodded. Thank you. The rent will be entered in the accounts. Mother paused in surprise, but I smiled. Good. Not 1 coin less. Lu Huaijin smiled too. As the carriage left the Yongning Earl's estate, I lifted the curtain and watched the tall gatehouse recede. In my previous life, I had longed countless times to return there, believing Mother and Yan, and waited behind its doors. In this life, I finally left with both of them. There was no crushing pain in my chest, only a slow, unmistakable sense of relief. Leaving people who did not love me was not losing a home. It was taking my home back from their hands. The old house at Greenstone Slope was more dilapidated than I had imagined. One corner of the courtyard wall had collapsed, the main house leaked, and half the kitchen stove had fallen in. Mother stood in the courtyard for a long time after stepping down. I worried she regretted it. If it is too uncomfortable, we can rent a house in the city first. She slowly shook her head. This place is very good. What is good about it? The sky is wide. I followed her gaze. In the western courtyard of the Earl's estate, high walls cut the sky into a narrow strip. Here, the entire evening glow spread above us. Yan had already run excitedly through the house. Pointing to the eastern side room, he announced that he would turn it into a study. Chunfu chased after him, warning him to avoid the dust. Qingdai complained about the leaking roof while calculating how many tiles were needed. I suddenly laughed. This home was not grand, but everyone was discussing which room they wanted and how the courtyard should be changed. No one needed to watch Madame Fang's expression. No one feared that buying 1 more prescription would leave insufficient allowance for the month. The craftsman Lu Huaijin began repairs the next day. He insisted that rent, repair costs, and horse farm income be recorded separately. Mother was uncomfortable at first. Huaijin has done so much for us. Calculating every item feels distant. Precisely because we are close, we should keep the accounts clear. Today he may advance money for us. Tomorrow, if his shop runs into difficulty, we will know exactly how much help we can afford to give. Mother began learning to read accounts. She was literate but had never truly managed property. At first, she could not distinguish rent from net profit. Uncle Tang patiently explained the horse farm's income, while Qingdai turned daily expenses into the simplest tables. 1 month later, Mother herself discovered that an herbal shop had overcharged her by 3/10 of a tael. She held the bill and laughed for a long time. So it was not that I was incapable of learning. No one had ever let me see the accounts. Yanan also entered a nearby academy. He remained sensitive. On his first day home, he asked whether his tuition was too expensive. I opened the support agreement for him. Your annual tuition comes from the shops. After you turn 16, you will participate in managing your own expenses. What if I cannot pass the examinations? Then find another way to support yourself. Father says a Shen man who cannot become an official has no prospects. Mother put down her needlework. Your father is not right about everything. Yanan stared at her with wide eyes, and I could not help laughing. After leaving the Earl's estate, Mother began saying no far more often. She was no longer the concubine Liu who endured everything. She was simply Lu Jingrong. Reorganizing the horse farm was harder than repairing the house. Steward Zhou had left many bad accounts after Madame Fang recalled him. New tack had to be purchased. Several older horses needed treatment for injuries. Carriage companies accustomed to buying on credit resisted paying promptly. Rebirth did not suddenly teach me business. In my first negotiation with a carriage company, they saw how urgently I wanted stable revenue, and nearly persuaded me to sign a 3-year contract at a low price. Lu Huaijin read the agreement and asked, "Why are you willing to reduce the price by 20%? The horse farm needs dependable clients." A 10% reduction would be sufficient. They said the Earl's household no longer guarantees the farm, so you rush to prove that the farm can survive without the Earl. I was silent. He returned the document. The more urgently you try to prove yourself, the more clearly others see that you fear failure. The words were not pleasant, but they were useful. During the second negotiation, I did not offer a reduction first. Seeing that my position was firm, the carriage company manager ultimately accepted a 1-year agreement at the market rate. I did not become the most formidable female proprietor in the capital overnight. I simply learned to check the accounts every day, inspect each horse personally, and admit what I did not know. In its first quarter, the farm earned only 120 taels, far less than the amount Madame Fang had taken in my previous life, but every tael was clearly accounted for. Lu Huaijin also separated Chengqi Hall from the Lu clan estate. The Lu family reclaimed part of the old client network. For the first 2 months, business was poor. When I visited, he often sat alone behind the counter, organizing registers no one had requested. "Do you regret it?" I asked. "A little," he answered honestly. "What part?" Although the clan controlled many things before, I at least did not worry about rent. I placed a new agreement before him. 3 carriage companies near Greenstone Slope need long-term horse leases and require someone to preserve contracts and deposit records. Lu Huaijin read it. "You are giving me business. This is cooperation. The horse farm needs a reliable keeper for agreements. You need new clients." He did not refuse. "At the normal fee?" "Of course." We smiled at each other. Real help did not mean saying that nothing needed to be counted until every favor became hopelessly tangled. It meant that I knew what he needed, and he knew what I could bear. 3 months later, Lu Huaijin opened a Chengqi Hall branch at Greenstone Slope. Horse leases, farmers' land deeds, and small merchants' loan notes could all be stored there. His business never returned to the scale it had enjoyed through Lu clan connections, but it gradually stabilized. One autumn day, he brought 2 letters to the farm. The first came from the Earl's estate. Father ordered Yan and to return for the winter clan rites. That was a normal clan ceremony, so we did not refuse. The second was from Shen Minghua. Her former marriage arrangement had been cancelled. The other family had valued her connection to Princess Jiaoning. Once she lost the position as companion, they withdrew. In the letter, she said she wished to come to the farm and see Mother. "Are you willing to meet her?" Lu Huaijin asked. I looked at the paper. Yes. When Minghua arrived, she wore far more subdued clothing than before. She remained beautiful, but the pride of someone praised by everyone was gone from her face. She saw me teaching the daughters of nearby farmers how to mount and looked conflicted. "You truly teach people to ride here. I have not opened formal lessons yet. They often help at the farm, and I teach a few basics in return." She was silent for a moment. "I want to learn." I thought I had misheard. Minghua twisted her handkerchief. "I want to truly learn riding and archery." "Why?" "Not for the princess," she said with some difficulty. "I simply do not want people to say that everything about me was false." It was still not the best reason. She remained concerned with how others viewed her. But for the first time, she did not demand that I hand her the result directly. "You may." A trace of happiness appeared in her eyes. "But you will follow the farm's rules." "What rules?" "You begin with the gentlest horse. Each lesson lasts 2 hours. Tardiness will not be made up. You inspect your own tack. If you fall, first determine whether you and the horse are injured. You may not blame someone else." Her expression changed slightly. "I am your elder sister. Therefore, you receive a 10% family discount on tuition." Several girls nearby laughed. Minghua's face turned red and white. "You intend to charge me?" "The horse farm survives on fees." She stared at me for a long time, then took silver from her purse. "Fine." I did not assume that one moment of submission meant she had changed completely. During her first lesson, she still complained the horse was not attractive enough. After falling onto a padded mat during the second, she instinctively blamed the groom for failing to catch her. But when I told her to mount again by herself, she did not turn and leave. That alone was different from before. Whether she would truly learn responsibility was no longer something I had to guarantee. At the winter clan rites, I accompanied Yan and back to the Earl's estate. Madame Fang had lost part of her authority over the household, but still maintained the dignity of the countess. When she saw Mother had not come, she merely said, "Younger sister Lu now lives quite freely. Her health is much improved." I replied. Madame Fang said nothing else. Father looked older than the last time I saw him. He asked Yan and how his studies were and said the household could hire a better teacher. Yan bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Father. My academy teacher is excellent. I do not wish to change." Father's face stiffened slightly. He likely discovered for the first time that the son who had once been frightened whenever he saw him had also learned to refuse. We did not remain for the meal. As we left, grandmother sent a wooden chest. Inside were several pieces of old jewelry mother had brought with her when she first entered the estate. Grandmother did not apologize. She merely had a nanny say, "Since matters have been separated, take everything." That ending suited her. She would not suddenly become loving or admit her former coldness, but she had begun respecting the boundary already drawn. Back at Greenstone Slope, mother opened the chest. Inside lay an old silver hairpin. She touched it for a long time, then placed it in her hair. "Does it look good?" I smiled and nodded. "It does." She was no longer a concubine in the Earl's household forbidden to surpass the principal wife. She was simply a woman free to choose which hairpin she wished to wear. That winter, the first snow fell over the horse farm. I stood beneath the eaves watching it when Lu Huaijin approached carrying a rolled deed. "What document is it this time?" I asked. "A marriage agreement." I stared at him. He handed it to me. "I am not asking you to agree immediately. Read the clauses first." I opened it. First, each party would retain separate management of property owned before marriage. Second, major expenses after marriage would require joint discussion. Third, Liu Jingrong could come and go freely and would not lose her residence because her daughter married. Fourth, Shen Yan and S education, marriage, and future would be decided by himself and his biological mother. A brother-in-law could not arrange them without permission. Fifth, Shen Juwei would not be required to manage Chengshi Hall without compensation. Sixth, Lu Huaijin would not be required to abandon Chengshi Hall for the sake of marriage. Seventh, neither party could use family, filial duty, or marital status to force the other to sacrifice. By the time I reached the final clause, my eyes stung with tears. Is this a proposal or a peace treaty? The matters most likely to cause disputes should be defined first. And affection? Lu Huaijin was quiet for a moment. Snow landed on his shoulder and melted into a small damp patch. Affection does not belong in a deed. Why? Because writing it down cannot prove it. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. It can only be proven through every choice made afterward. I looked at him. What if one day you no longer choose me? Then you must be free to leave. It was not the most beautiful declaration of love, but it brought me complete peace. He did not promise that nothing would ever change. He promised only that even if it did, he would not use marriage to imprison me. I took the brush and added one line at the end. We shall support one another without losing ourselves in one another. Lu Huaijin read it and said softly, "Good, then when will you come to propose?" Clear amusement finally appeared in his eyes. "So Miss Shen has agreed. The agreement has not been sealed. I am only permitting you to prepare." He extended his hand. I did not place mine in it. I first rolled the document carefully. "Bring the formal betrothal gifts tomorrow." "How many?" "At the market rate, no discount." The snow fell more thickly. Standing side by side beneath the eaves, we both laughed. The year Lu Huaijin and I married, the Greenstone Slope Riding School for Girls formally opened. At first, only several daughters of nearby farmers attended. They did not come to compete in imperial riding events or to marry into noble families. One wanted to ride alone to town and sell goods. One came from a family operating carriages and wished to understand horses. Another simply loved the feeling of running against the wind. I no longer selected students by noble birth. I established only a few rules. It was acceptable not to understand. It was acceptable to ask. It was acceptable to be afraid and stop. Falling was not shameful. Harming a horse and refusing responsibility were shameful. Shen Minghua continued learning as well. She progressed slowly but eventually learned to inspect the tack of a gentle horse independently. Once, she fell from the saddle into soft sand and remained seated for a long time. "Can you stand?" I asked. "Yes," she said through clenched teeth. She first checked whether the horse legs were injured, then used the fence to rise. I did not praise her. I simply handed the reins back. Some changes did not need to be announced with fanfare. Whether she could sustain this one was for her to decide in her own life. Madame Fang later arranged another marriage for her. The other family was less distinguished than the first but had a decent household tradition. Minghua did not immediately agree, nor did she look only at status as before. She came to ask my opinion. "If you wish to marry, marry. If not, speak to Madame Fang yourself. You will not investigate the family for me?" She glared at me, but eventually sent her own people to inquire and personally met the women of the household. We might never become intimate sisters. Too much of the past lay between us. But at least she began to understand that she should make her own choices and bear their consequences. Father rarely contacted me afterward. Without mother's property income, the Earl's household had to tighten its expenses. Minghua's dowry was not nearly as extravagant as in my previous life. Madame Fang once sent someone to borrow silver. Mother refused. By then, she could open her own account book and calmly tell the messenger that the shop roof required repairs and the horse farm needed fodder. There was no surplus. She did not need me to refuse for her. That pleased me more than refusing on her behalf. At 15, Yanan took the academy assessment. He did not rank first, but his own essay earned a teacher's recommendation. He did not pursue the imperial examinations blindly. He said that if he failed, he wanted to manage accounts for the horse farm and study deeds with Lu Huaijin. Father was furious and wrote a letter accusing him of lacking ambition. Yanan answered carefully. He wrote that he would study hard, but would not stake his entire life on a single path merely for the respectability father valued. Before sending the letter, he showed it to me. Are you afraid father will become angry? I asked. Yes, he smiled. But elder sister said that one may be afraid and still say no. He had grown tall. He was no longer the child who knelt in the snow in my previous life and clung to me crying. At last, I did not need to fear that the moment I let go, someone would take him away. Mother's health stabilized completely. She liked sitting under the veranda when the school held lessons. Occasionally, a student's parent assumed she was only an ordinary old woman and spoke rudely. She no longer endured in silence. Once a noblewoman complained that the farm's tea was crude. Mother smiled and ordered it removed. If you do not care for it, madam, there is no need to force yourself. The noblewoman angrily demanded whether mother knew who she was. I do not. Mother answered. And it does not change the fact that you will have no tea today. I heard from nearby and laughed so hard I nearly dropped the reins. Lu Huaijin's Chengshi Hall also gradually established itself at Greenstone Slope. He still lacked talent for sweet words. On my first birthday after marriage, he gave me a new set of protective riding gear. No jewelry? I asked. The protective riding gear is more practical than jewelry. The second year, he gave me an independent lockable account chest. The third year, he finally learned to give flowers. But because he did not understand blooming seasons, he bought a bunch of half-withered wild chrysanthemums. I placed them in a vase and laughed all day. Our life was not sweet every moment. When busy with the farm, I forgot to eat. When busy with the shop, he brought documents into the bedroom. We argued about whether to expand the horse farm, whether Yan An should travel to study, and whether Lu Huaijin had fronted too much money for his younger cousin. After every dispute, however, we sat down again and explained our reasons. He never suppressed me with the words, I am your husband. I never demanded sacrifice by saying, if you love me, you must. Our premarital agreement remained in the innermost archive of Chengshi Hall. Lu Huaijin said it was not there because we distrusted one another. Precisely because we cherished what we had, we refused to let love become an undefined debt. In the third spring after the school opened, Princess Joning unexpectedly came to Greenstone Slope. She had matured considerably but still wore a neat riding outfit. She brought no grand procession, only several female officials. I stepped forward and bowed. She watched the girls practicing in the field. When you refused to enter the retreat, was it because you wished to do this? Not at first. Then why? To protect mother and my brother. She nodded. And now, I looked into the distance. Mother sat beneath a tree, teaching a young girl to read an account. Yanan had returned from the academy and first went to help Uncle Tang move fodder. Lu Huaijin stood before the Chengshi Hall branch, explaining a loan clause to a farmer. Jai was old and could no longer run long distances, but it still enjoyed basking beside the fence. Now I do it because I like it. Princess Joning was silent for a moment, then laughed lightly. At the time, I thought that whoever was skilled at riding should naturally come and accompany me. Only later did I understand that what another person can do is not the same as what she is obligated to do for me. She did not apologize, nor was an apology necessary. She had not deliberately harmed me then. She had merely been born accustomed to everyone competing to satisfy her. That she now understood was enough. She spent half a day at the school. Before leaving, she asked whether I would occasionally teach horse safety at the Imperial Academy for girls. This time, I did not immediately refuse. Once a month, the fee will follow the school's standard rate. The female officials froze. Princess Joning laughed aloud. Very well, not 1 coin less. After she left, several girls surrounded me. The youngest Ah Xing looked up. Teacher Shen, why did the princess ask you to teach riding? Are you truly very capable? Of course she is. Shen Minghua answered for me as she came from the stable. She simply used to be too lazy to let people know. I glanced at her. She shrugged and led away her horse. Ah Xing would not give up. Teacher Shen, can you really ride and shoot? The question crossed many years and fell into my ears again. At the Shaanxi Spring banquet in my previous life, the crown prince asked who could ride and shoot. I raised my head because I desperately wanted to be seen. I believed that if I became useful enough, father would value me and mother and Yan and would live better. That single lifting of my head took me into the imperial retreat everyone envied, and caused me to lose the people I truly cherished. When the same question arose after my rebirth, I did not raise my head. It was not because I was afraid or because I never wished to display my ability again. I had finally understood that being able to do something and being willing to do it were different matters. I gave the attention to Shen Minghua and returned the responsibility to her. I stayed behind, saved mother, protected Yanan, recovered the property and left the Earl's household. Now I no longer needed to keep my head down to protect myself, nor lift it to prove my worth. I walked to the fence. Zhou could no longer endure vigorous riding, so I led out one of Zhou's descendants, a blue-black horse with the same white patch between its brows. Lu Huaijin approached from the Chengqi Hall branch and handed me my longbow. Do you need me to clear the road? I looked across the broad pasture. Not today. He stepped aside. He did not caution me to be careful or decide which target I should choose. I drew a feathered arrow from the quiver, set it to the bow and pulled the string. The distant target stood in sunlight. Xing still waited for my answer. I lifted my head. Yes. The bowstring trembled at my fingertips. The arrow cut through the wind and struck the center of the target. Cheers erupted beside the field. I lowered the bow and saw mother smiling, Yanan applauding with all his strength, and Lu Huaijin standing behind the crowd with gentle, quiet light in his eyes. This time, I raised my head not for the crown prince, not for the Earl's household, and not to show anyone how capable I was. I did it because at that moment I wanted to ride. I wanted to draw the bow. I wanted to let the arrow fly. My ability belonged to me, my home belonged to me, and at last, my life belonged to me as well. Extra Story 1. Manager Lu's betrothal gifts not 1 coin less. On the day Lu Huaijin formally came to propose, mother had been nervous since before dawn. First she decided the courtyard lanterns were too old and told Qingdai to replace them. Then she thought the chairs in the main room were uneven and personally rearranged them 3 times. When I awoke, she was searching through chests for a dark purple outer robe that had been stored for years. Mother, it is only Lu Huaijin coming to propose. Princess Xiaoning is not arriving. Mother glared at me through the mirror. How can you be so casual about marriage? I yawned. We have already read the marriage agreement and settled every clause. What is left to be nervous about? That is precisely what worries me. She turned and lowered her voice. Who, before a proposal, writes clearly what happens if the couple quarrels, who owns which property, and what to do if they later no longer wish to stay together. Lu Huaijin. Mother choked on my answer. I know it was him. I mean that it sounds less like a marriage agreement and more like 2 businesses merging. We are not merging, I corrected seriously. It is long-term cooperation with separate management. Mother raised a hand to her forehead. Her health was now much better, and her complexion was rosy. Even her sighs were stronger than they had been at the Earl's estate. When the 2 of you come together, I cannot imagine what sort of household you will create. It proved that her concern was reasonable. When Lu Huaijin entered with the matchmaker, he brought 16 chests of betrothal gifts. Mother saw them and finally nodded in satisfaction. I saw the problem at once. Are there 2 extra chests? Lu Huaijin stopped. The smile on the matchmaker's face stiffened. Miss Shen has sharp eyes. The list is originally contained 14. I walked to the rear and pointed at the final 2 trunks. What is inside? Lu Huaijin was silent for a moment. Medicinal ingredients for Madame Lu and books for Yan and mother, who had just been pleased, immediately shook her head. Those cannot be counted as betrothal gifts. Jiwei is marrying you. That has nothing to do with Yan An or me. You cannot use marrying her as a reason to provide for all of us as well. The matchmaker had clearly never met people who complained that the gifts were too generous. He started to speak, then seemed unsure which side to support. Lu Huaijin remained calm. They truly should not be counted among the betrothal gifts. Then take them back, I said. They cannot be taken back. Why? The medicine was selected according to Madame Lu's condition, and Yanan's name has already been written in the books. Chengqi Hall cannot sell them to someone else. I looked at him. Manager Lu, you are forcing this gift on us. He withdrew a sheet of paper from his sleeve. A loan agreement. I read it. It stated that Lu Huaijin would advance payment for the medicine and books, while Lu Jingrong and Shenyan An could repay the sum in installments over the following 2 years without interest. Mother studied it hesitantly. How much did the medicine cost? Lu Huaijin stated a figure. Mother frowned immediately. Too expensive. It is calculated at physician Shu's purchase price. What books? Yan had been standing by the door. At last he could not resist running over. Brother-in-law, what books are they? Lu Huaijin glanced at him. We are not yet married. Do not call me brother-in-law. Manager Lu, what books are they? The complete annotated set you examined at the bookshop yesterday, but could not bear to buy. Yan's eyes lit immediately. He quickly looked toward Mother. Seeing her son's expectation, Mother hesitated and finally nodded. We may borrow the money, but we must repay it. Naturally, Lu Huaijin said. I lowered my eyes and continued examining the loan agreement. Why is there a new horse for me among the betrothal gifts? I already have a horse, I said. Zhai is old, he replied. You will eventually need a new mount. The horse farm has horses. The horses of the farm belong to the farm. This one belongs to you. I looked up. How much? His expression did not change. A betrothal gift need not be priced. How much did you pay? Jiwei, Mother finally protested. Who asks the price of a betrothal gift to the giver's face? I ignored her and continued watching Lu Huaijin. After a moment, he had no choice but to give the figure. I inhaled sharply. That much? Its bloodline is excellent. I ride the horse, not its ancestors. The matchmaker lowered his head and covered his mouth, shoulders shaking. Lu Huaijin said, I already bought it. Can it be returned? Why not? I have ridden it myself. I looked at him and he looked back. Mother coughed lightly beside us. Since it is Huaijin's heartfelt gift, keep the horse. I went into the courtyard and saw it. It was completely white except for faint gray on all four lower legs. Its eyes were gentle and intelligent. The moment I approached, it lowered its head to smell my hand and rubbed lightly against my shoulder. It was undeniably an exceptionally fine horse. Lu Huaijin stood beside me. Do you like it? It is acceptable. Then why have you not stopped touching it? I withdrew my hand. I was checking for hidden injuries. Have you finished? Not yet. I stroked its mane once more. Yan's voice suddenly sounded behind us. Elder sister, if you do not like it, you may give it to me. I turned at once. Your riding is not yet good enough. I can learn. Begin with the small brown horse at the farm. Then you do like this one. I was momentarily speechless. Lu Huaijin laughed softly. I glared at him. What are you laughing at? I only think the money was not wasted. I lowered my voice. After marriage, Chengchi Hall's accounts remain yours to manage, naturally. In the future, buying something this expensive must be discussed beforehand. What about this time? I held the white horse reins and worked hard not to appear too pleased. Because it is genuinely good, I will let the matter go this time. Lu Huaijin nodded. Many thanks for Miss Shen's generosity. I later named the horse Zhao Shui. Only 3 months after marriage did I discover from Chengchi Hall's old accounts that Zhao Shui had not cost the price Lu Huaijin quoted. The true price was 30% higher. I took the ledger to find him. He was arranging deeds in the study. The instant he saw me, his first reaction was to close the account book beside him. I slapped the old ledger onto the table. Manager Lu explained. He read the figures and remained silent for a long time. The horse later required an additional training fee. Why did you not say so then? I feared you would make me return it. Could it have been returned? At the time, yes. I glared at him in fury. He rose, walked to me, and placed a small wooden box in my hand. Inside was a silver hairpin shaped like a feathered arrow. What is this? An apology. How many taels? He did not answer. I pressed him for the answer for a long time, but he still refused to say. In the end, I could only write one line in my own account book. Lu Huaijin concealed the true price of a horse once. Penalty. Pay for Zhao Shui's fodder for half a month. That evening he read the entry and asked seriously, if I pay for Zhao Shui's fodder for half a month, is this matter settled? What remains? I placed the silver hairpin in his palm. Put this in my hair. He paused, then lowered his head and smiled. After that day, Chengchi Hall acquired one rule known only to the two of us. Expensive gifts must be discussed in advance. Occasionally, however, one may buy first, provided the giver accepts the consequences when I check the accounts afterward. Extra story 2. Why Teacher Shen's students always want the biggest horses. After the riding school for girls opened, I discovered that teaching children was more difficult than teaching Shen Minghua. Minghua was competitive, but at least she could understand instructions. Children were different. When I said they could not crawl beneath a horse's belly, they seriously asked whether it would be allowed if they flattened themselves low enough. When I said beginners could ride only ponies, they gathered around the tallest black horse in the farm and insisted that they were very brave. The hardest to manage was Ah Xing. She was only 8, shorter than a horse leg, yet every day she pointed at the fiercest black horse. Teacher Shen, may I ride Thunder today? Number tomorrow. Number when I turn 9. That depends on how much progress you make. She counted on her fingers for a long time. I will be 9 in 4 months. I made her lead a gentle spotted pony around the field. After half a circuit, she sighed. Little flower is too short. It is not impressive. Did you come to learn riding merely to look impressive? Also so I can protect my mother later? How will you protect her? If someone bullies her, I will ride thunder over and frighten the bad person away. She spoke very seriously. I crouched and adjusted her wrist guard. Truly protecting someone does not mean charging out on the biggest horse. Then what does it mean? First learn what happened. Then decide what you are capable of doing. Ah Xing nodded as if she partly understood. The next moment, she pointed behind me. Does it count if Teacher Lu bullies you? I turned. Lu Huaijin stood outside the fence holding my lunch. How is he bullying me? Ah Xing lowered her voice. He will not let you continue teaching. Lu Huaijin said. It is already past noon. Teacher Shen said we cannot leave before class ends. She has eaten nothing since morning. Every student immediately looked at me reproachfully. I cleared my throat. There was much to do today. There was much yesterday, Lu Huaijin said, setting the food box on the table. And the day before. Ah Xing suddenly understood. So Teacher Lu is not here to bully Teacher Shen. He is here to make her eat. Another child asked, Teacher Lu, are you Teacher Shen's teacher? Number, then why must she listen to you? Before I could explain, he answered, she does not have to. The children grew more confused. Then why did you come? To remind her. Ah Xing summarized solemnly. Teacher Shen teaches us riding, and Teacher Lu teaches Teacher Shen to eat. I do not need anyone to teach me to eat, I said. Lu Huaijin opened the food box and handed me the chopsticks. Then eat by yourself. I accepted them and sat beneath the tree. Instead of resuming practice, the children surrounded me and watched. Why are you staring? Go lead your horses, Ah Xing said. We want to see whether Teacher Shen is a picky eater. I am never picky. On the upper tray was a plate of stir. My hand stopped. Lu Huaijin glanced at me. Why are you not eating? I picked up a slice. It is too hot. It is already cool. Today is not suitable for bitter melon. Why? A writing lesson requires a cheerful mood. Ah Xing immediately announced. Teacher Shen is picky. The other children joined in. Teacher Shen is picky. I looked at Lu Huaijin. His eyes were clearly smiling, but he deliberately pretended not to understand. The children are waiting for you to set an example. Grinding my teeth, I ate one slice. Bitterness spread through my mouth. The children cheered as if I had hit 10 bullseyes. After class, I cornered Lu Huaijin's beside the stable. Who prepared the bitter melon? Madame Lu. She says the weather has been dry and you should eat more. You knew I disliked it, yet watched me be mocked before every student. I did not laugh. Your eyes did. He was silent for a moment. Sorry. His admission came so quickly that I could not continue my anger. One apology is not enough. What do you want? Teach half the class for me tomorrow. Lu Huaijin frowned. I do not know how to teach writing. You know how to explain rules. The following day, I deliberately sat under the veranda, drinking tea while Lu Huaijin led the children through preparatory exercises. He held my lesson plan and stood before them. First, inspect your protective gear. Ah Xing raised her hand. Teacher Lu, can you ride? Yes. Can you ride thunder? Every child became excited at once. A bad feeling rose within me. Ah Xing pressed him. Will you show us? Lu Huaijin looked toward me. I immediately shook my head. He pretended not to see my refusal and walked to the stable. Thunder had a bad temper, but it got along well with Lu Huaijin. He mounted with practiced ease and rode it once around the field. The children's cheers nearly lifted the roof. Ah Xing said excitedly. Teacher Lu looks even more impressive on horseback than Teacher Shen. The teacup in my hand gave a faint clink. After dismounting, Lu Huaijin came to me. The lesson is complete. Who authorized you to ride thunder? The student requested it. Yesterday you said I could ignore your reminders. Yes. Then why did you obey an 8-year-old today? He looked innocent. Her request was reasonable. I laughed coldly. That afternoon, I personally demonstrated 3 mounted turns, 2 rapid rain maneuvers, and struck the farthest moving target. The children immediately changed their tune. Teacher Shen is still the greatest. Satisfied, I lowered the bow. Lu Huaijin said quietly beside me, Did you not say you would teach only the basics today? The lesson was adjusted temporarily. Not to compete with me? Of course not. Then why did you keep looking at me? I pushed the bow into his arms. Inspect the bowstring. He lowered his head and laughed. Several days later, Ah Xing finally stopped demanding to ride thunder every day. She discovered that if she carefully learned to inspect tack, control the reins, and care for Little Flower, I would allow her an extra half circuit each day. She stroked the pony's mane and told me solemnly, Teacher Shen, I do not dislike Little Flower for being short anymore. Why? Little Flower is not impressive, but it has never thrown me. I smiled. Because it knows you are still small. Ah Xing shook her head. Because it likes me, I did not correct her. Perhaps to a child, liking was the best answer. That evening, Lu Huaijin came to escort me home. I suddenly liked Xiaoxue more or me. His steps stopped. Why ask that? No reason. He thought seriously for a moment. You need to think this long? Xiaoxue would never suddenly ask such a question. I turned and walked away. He caught up and held my sleeve. But it would not eat bitter melon with me either. I glared at him. He finally laughed aloud. Extra story 3. Shen Minghua's 10% tuition discount. After studying at the horse farm for half a year, Shen Minghua could finally ride a gentle horse through a complete sequence of basic movements. She was extremely proud and made a point of inviting Madame Fang to watch one day. Madame Fang wore the formal dress of the countess and sat beside the field with 4 maids and 2 nannies. Her procession was larger than Princess Zhaoning's had been. I glanced at her. Observation requires an additional fee. Madame Fang's expression changed. I must pay to watch my own daughter. Ordinary family members may sit on the outer benches for free. If you wish to use the shaded pavilion, tea, snacks, and a cushioned chair, it cost 1/5 of a tael per person. Minghua, already mounted, nearly laughed. Madame Fang glared at her. Did you not say learning here cost little? Little sister gives me a 10% discount. Madame Fang frowned. Blood sisters receive only a 10% discount. I answered from beside the fence. I once considered a 20% discount, but elder sister damages tack more frequently than other students. Minghua immediately objected. This month I replaced only 1 rein and 1 stirrup. The stirrup came loose because you failed to inspect it before mounting. The groom bears responsibility, and so do you. She quickly corrected herself. I also bear responsibility. Madame Fang's frown deepened. Minghua, you are the Earl's legitimate daughter. Why stay here and endure this treatment? The household can hire the finest riding instructor. Minghua sat silently on her horse. I did not urge her to stay. If she wished to return to the Earl's household and find someone to flatter her while teaching, that was her choice. After a moment, she tightened her hold on the reins. The finest instructor in the capital would not make me calm the horse myself after I fall. Madame Fang said, what value is there in learning that? Servants can do it. I used to think the same. Minghua looked at me. I believed that if someone held the horse, inspected the saddle, and told me what to do, then I knew how to ride. She spoke with some difficulty. Now I want to learn for myself. Madame Fang looked displeased. What use will this skill ever have? Can I not learn it if it has no use? I paused slightly. In the past, Minghua judged every action first by whether it would increase others' respect for her. Now she could ask whether something without practical advantage was still worth learning. Madame Fang had clearly not expected this. After a moment of silence, she paid 1/5 of a tael and sat beneath the shade. That day's exercise was retrieving an object while mounted. Minghua had to ride past a wooden frame and take down a colored ball. The first 2 times she missed because she rode too fast. On the third, she slowed and caught it. Madame Fang immediately stood. Good. Encouraged, Minghua accelerated again while turning back. Her body tilted, and she fell into the sand beside the course. Madame Fang cried out and tried to rush in. I stopped her. First, let her judge whether she can move. What if she is injured? The soft sand is prepared for falls. Minghua lay there, then lifted her head. She first touched her arms, moved both legs, and confirmed she was unharmed. Instead of standing immediately, she looked at the horse beside her. The frightened animal flicked its tail anxiously. Minghua slowly rose and went first to soothe it. Madame Fang paced in agitation outside the field. Minghua, come out first. Minghua did not listen. She checked the saddle again and found that the right stirrup length was wrong. After adjusting it, she mounted again. This time, she did not rush to display speed. She completed the remaining half circuit steadily. After dismounting, she gave the colored ball to Madame Fang. For you, Madame Fang accepted it, eyes reddening. You have suffered. Minghua smiled. Falling into sand is not suffering. I called from the side. 1 colored ball was damaged today. Compensation at cost. The tender moment between mother and daughter ended at once. Minghua protested. It is only muddy. Cleaning also costs money. Shen Sui, call me teacher. She glared at me, then gritted her teeth. Teacher Shen, can you wave it once? Number, Madame Fang finally could not bear it. It is only 1 ball, I will pay. I retrieved the account record. The expression on Madame Fang's face as she produced the silver was worse than when she paid for the shaded seat. Before leaving, she said specifically, Minghua is your own elder sister. Do not be too harsh with her. If she never breaks a rule, I will naturally have no opportunity to be harsh. Minghua called from behind. Mother, stop pleading for me. Madame Fang's step paused. She had likely never imagined that one day Minghua would refuse her protection. After the carriage left, Minghua came to me. You deliberately made mother pay. The rule is the rule. I took so many things from you in the past. Have you remembered them all? I was silent for a moment. Yes, her expression grew strained. How? With silver? Some things cannot be priced. She lowered her head. So there is no need to repay them, I continued. Simply do not take anything from me again. Minghua looked at me. Can we ever be like ordinary sisters? I did not answer at once. What were ordinary sisters supposed to be? I truly did not know. We had been compared since childhood. She was taught to surpass me. I was taught to yield to her. We can try, I said. Her eyes brightened. But you still receive only a 10% discount. The emotion disappeared from her face immediately. Why not 20% off? Because you fell again today. Falling is normal. The cleaning fee for the colored ball has already been calculated. There is no additional charge for falling. She turned away in anger. After 2 steps, she looked back. If I damage no tack next month, can I receive 20% off? Manage that for 3 consecutive months, and then we will discuss it. Why does your horse farm have so many rules? Lu Huaijin taught me. No wonder, she muttered, leading her horse away. That night, Lu Huaijin saw the discounted tuition in the accounts and asked, why did you suddenly give Minghua a family discount? Should the things she owed you in the past be included? They cannot be calculated. Then are you not angry? I considered. Occasionally, when she calls me little sister and asks for free lessons, Lu Huaijin nodded. Then continue charging. You will not advise me to be magnanimous. She pays and you teach. Both parties feel secure. Only the manager of Chengchi Hall would insist on making the fees clear before 2 sisters could reconcile. Extra Story 4, Lu Huaijin finally learns to give flowers. In the 3rd year of our marriage, Lu Huaijin finally realized that a woman might not want only practical objects for her birthday. Yan An caused this realization. 2 days before my birthday that year, Yan An came to the farm and mysteriously asked, elder sister, what has brother-in-law given you in previous years? The 1st year, protective riding gear. The 2nd year, an account chest. Yan An was silent for a moment. Did you like them? They were practical, so you did not like them very much. I would not put it that way. The protective riding gear was genuinely useful, and the account chest was sturdy. But sometimes, when I passed young couples on the street exchanging hairpins, sachets, and flowers, I felt a trace of envy. Of course, I had never said this, Lu Huaijin's willingness to think carefully about what I needed was already precious. Yan An evidently did not agree. That afternoon, he went to Chengchi Hall. I did not know what he said. I only knew that on the morning of my birthday, Lu Huaijin brought neither protective riding gear nor an account chest. He returned carrying an enormous bouquet. I stood in the courtyard, staring for a long time at the half-wilted wild chrysanthemums. He also seemed to sense something was wrong. The flower shop manager said they were picked at dawn. I touched a curled petal. Where were they picked? Outside the city. How long did delivery take? 4 hours. Were they placed in water? Lu Huaijin was silent. The answer was obvious. I tried not to laugh. They are beautiful. You need not comfort me. They truly are beautiful. Qingdai did not look nearly as impressed when she saw them. Qingdai happened to pass carrying a basin. At those words, she immediately quickened her pace. I carried the flowers inside and found a large porcelain vase. Although wilted, they were indeed the first flowers he had chosen and bought for me on his own. Did you pay for them? I asked. They came from a flower shop. Naturally. How much? He named the price. I frowned. That much? The manager said they were rare. I picked up one blossom and examined it. These wild chrysanthemums grow everywhere on the hills. Lu Huaijin's expression darkened slightly. He clearly realized he had been cheated. He turned toward the door. I grabbed him. Where are you going? To demand a refund. The flowers have already been bought and have been in our home for half a day. How can you return them? They were overpriced, forget it. Number. He seldom lost money when examining contracts. Being overcharged the first time he bought flowers likely troubled him more than their wilting. I held his arm. Today is my birthday. Will you run out to argue over a few flowers? He stopped. Then what do you want? Eat with me. We can settle the flower money tomorrow. He finally stayed. Mother made longevity noodles. Yanan gave me an inkstone he had carved himself, though 2 of its feet were crooked. Minghua sent a pair of short hairpins that would not catch in my hair while I rode. Lu Huaijin sat beside me and looked several times toward the wild chrysanthemums, which were already drooping in the vase. After the meal, he said seriously, "Next year, I will order flowers in advance." I laughed. "No need, you do not like them." "I do, then why not? They grow on the hillside. Next year, pick them yourself." He thought about it. Very well. On my birthday the following year, he truly picked the flowers himself. This time, they were not wild chrysanthemums but a large bundle of red and yellow blossoms, such a jumble that even I could not identify every kind. Several thorny branches were included. When I accepted them, a thorn nearly pricked my finger. Lu Huaijin immediately took them back. I did not notice. "Where did you gather them?" "On the back hill of Greenstone Slope. Alone." Yes, I saw grass clinging to his cuffs, and my heart softened completely. "They are beautiful. I have not arranged them. They are perfect as they are." I found scissors, and together we cut off the thorns and arranged the flowers by height in a vase. He watched very seriously. "So giving flowers requires this much preparation. Did you think one simply pulled them from the ground and handed them over?" "The flower shop manager last year wrapped them directly." I laughed. "No wonder he dared charge you so much." From then on, Lu Huaijin gave me flowers every year. Sometimes they were small roadside blossoms, sometimes they were grown at the horse farm. One year we were too busy, and he missed the flowering season. He could only pull several blooming chive stalks from the vegetable garden. I stared at the bouquet of chive flowers and laughed until I leaned against the door, unable to stand. His expression remained serious. "They are flowers too. They can go in a vase and later be stir-fried with eggs." That evening, we truly stir-fried my birthday gift. It tasted unexpectedly good. Later, every student at the school knew that Teacher Lu gave Teacher Shen flowers each year. Ah Xing asked whether Teacher Lu was romantic. I looked at Lu Huaijin, who was in the account room calculating the price of chive seeds. "A little, which part?" "Most of the flowers he gives can be eaten." Extra Story 5. Yannen's secret account book. When Yannen turned 16, he formally began managing his own living expenses. Lu Huaijin prepared a new account book for him. The cover read, "Shen Yannen's personal accounts." Yannen treasured it. Every coin he spent was recorded. Paper 3 cash, ink 5 cash. Sugar figurine at the academy gate, 2 cash. Meal money advanced for a classmate, 15 cash. The final entry appeared 3 times in succession. After reading, I asked, "Why does this classmate always make you pay for the meal?" Yannen's face reddened. "She does not always make me pay." "Then why has she failed to repay all 3 times?" "She forgot." I looked up. His face became even redder. I perked up at once. "Which family's young lady?" "She is only the niece of one of the academy teachers. Sometimes she comes to help arrange his books." "What is her name?" "Elder sister." He snatched back the account book. I reached for it. "I am only checking whether you have a bad debt. She will repay it." "When?" "The next time we meet." "When will you meet?" Yannen hugged the book and ran. I was about to chase him when Lu Huaijin entered. "What happened?" "Yannen has a suspicious loan." "How much?" 45 cash. "Is there a written note?" Lu Huaijin frowned immediately. "It is unwise to keep paying on someone's behalf without a written note." I watched his solemn expression. "The other person is a young lady." He was silent for a moment. "Then it is even more important to make the terms clear, so the young lady does not misunderstand his intentions or feel pressured by the money." As expected, no matter the subject, he always brought it back to written terms. The next day, Lu Huaijin summoned Yannen to Chengqi's hall. I secretly stood outside the door and listened. Lu Huaijin asked, "When you paid for her meal, did you want her to repay you or not?" Yannen hesitated. "Either is fine." "There is no either is fine. If repayment is unnecessary, why record it as a loan?" Yannen could not answer. Lu Huaijin continued, "If you wish to invite her out of kindness, record it as a gift. If you wanted repayment, tell her clearly. Saying it does not matter while remembering it in your heart creates the kind of unresolved debt most likely to hurt someone." I nodded repeatedly outside the door. That made perfect sense. After a long silence, Yannen asked, "Brother-in-law, when you gave elder sister things, did you make every item clear?" The room became silent. I immediately pricked up my ears. "Most," Lu Huaijin said. "What about the small part?" "That does not concern you." Yannen was clearly unconvinced. Elder sister said unclear accounts easily create disputes between husband and wife. Some things need not enter an account, for example? Affection. Standing outside, I could not restrain my smile. Yannen asked again, "Then if I like a young lady, may I buy her several meals without recording them?" "You may, truly, but you must make it clear that the meals are not meant to make her like you in return." Yannen agreed seriously. I was about to slip away when the door opened. Lu Huaijin stood inside. "How long have you listened?" "I just arrived." Yannen immediately exposed me. "Elder sister has been here for 15 minutes. I glared at him. Hugging his account book, he fled. Lu Huaijin pulled me into the shop. Eavesdropping? He asked. Does that require an explanation? He is my younger brother. He is already 16. A 16-year-old is still my younger brother. Yesterday you said you would not turn everything about him into your responsibility. I am only concerned. Concerned enough to want the young lady's name? I touched my nose. Just the basics. Lu Huaijin took a thin booklet from beneath the counter. Then, first examine your own account. I opened the first page. On such and such a date, Shenju secretly took 1 jar of candied fruit from Chengqi Hall and did not pay. On such and such a date, Shenjue rode Zhao Shui outside the city and forgot to return Lu Huaijin's cloak. On such and such a date, Shenjue agreed to dine with Lu Huaijin, then missed the dinner because urgent business arose at the horse farm. The more I read, the guiltier I felt. When did you begin recording these? During the first year of our marriage. Must these be repaid in silver? Number. Then why record them? To prove that Teacher Shen also leaves some accounts unsettled. I closed the booklet. How do you wish to settle them? Lu Huaijin stepped closer. Replace the candied fruit with 1 jar. The cloak need not be returned. The missed dinner must be made up 3 times. Only 3? For now. What if I refuse? Then it will enter the next page. I laughed. Manager Lu has become very good at settling accounts. I learned from you. That evening, while we were eating in the courtyard, Yanan suddenly arrived with a young woman in a pale green dress. She carried a small purse and bowed upon entering. Elder sister Shen, Teacher Lu, I came to repay the meal money. Yanan looked mortified. You need not repay it, the young woman said earnestly. Yesterday you said that if repayment was unnecessary, then you were treating me to a meal. But you have treated me 3 times. I should treat you once. She took 15 cash from the purse. This is for tomorrow's meal, Yan. N's ears turned so red they seemed ready to bleed. I struggled not to laugh. Beneath the table, Lu Huaijin lightly touched my hand, warning me not to frighten the young woman. I could only nod solemnly. The account is clear. Very good. The young woman visibly relaxed. Jansen gave me a resentful look. After the meal, he pulled me aside. Elder sister, why did you keep staring at her? To learn a little about her. She only came to repay money. I know. Do not ask where she lives or what her parents do. I have not asked yet. It was written all over your face. I touched my cheeks. Was it so obvious? Yana nodded emphatically. After he left, I turned to Lu Huaijin. Am I interfering too much? A little, but he is my younger brother. He can judge for himself. What if he judges incorrectly? Then let him bear the consequences for himself this time. I remembered how many years earlier Lu Huaijin had advised me not to write Yanan's entire life as my responsibility. Now the child had grown. He had his own account book, friends, and a young woman he liked. It was indeed time for me to let go. Then I will not interfere from now on. Early the next morning, however, I still sent Qingdai to ask the young woman's name. Only her name, nothing else. After Lu Huaijin learned of it, he added another line to his secret ledger. Shen Jue promised not to interfere in her younger brother's private affairs, then changed her mind before 1 full day had passed. I took the brush and added below it. Lu Huaijin knew his wife was curious and failed to stop her in time. Both parties bear responsibility. He read it and remained silent for a long time. Finally, he nodded, accepted. After so many years of marriage, the fairest thing about us was this. Whenever one of us made a mistake, we could always try to drag the other into the account as well.